Stand up, New York Giant fans. You get the loud, the long stand up because the New York Giants looked good last week. They got a win in which they were 6.5-point underdogs. And Baddog, we got the Cowboys on Thursday Night Football. What's better than that? Come on.
What's better than that? I'll tell you what's better than that. Beating the Cowboys on Thursday Night Football. That'd be great if we could do that. That'd be great.
That'd be nice. That'd be nice. Of course, this team's destroyed us. They beat us 40-0 last year. Remember that opening day of the season when we all went in pumped up. And we haven't beaten Dak since his rookie year in 2016. We haven't sacked Dak. This is the most amazing stat to me. We have not sacked Dak Prescott since the year 2021. So you look at the Giants right now, we're second in the league in sacks with 14. We've been getting a lot of pressure, 13 sacks in the last 2 games. We had 8 last week, which was the highest total we've had in a really long time. I forgot what the year was. They showed it on the screen during the game in which we had 7. It was the second time we had 7. We ended up getting 8. So the Giants have been getting a lot of pressure on the quarterback, but the question remains, can they get pressure on the Dallas Cowboys? Something they haven't been able to do really since Dak's rookie year.
Yeah, it is amazing how Dak always walks out of there with a clean jersey. It can't happen. The thing is, I think a lot of our pressures come with the blitz, and I think Shane Bowen's done a really good job of disguising it, bringing guys from all over the place. We saw Jane Daniels. I mean, he's a rookie. He had a hard time figuring it out. Deshaun Watson just stinks, and we just ran right through their line. It was great. I love seeing that. That reminds me of the good old NASCAR days that we had. With JPP and Justin Tuck and all those guys. Good times, OCU manure, good times back in the day. The thing is with Dak, I think the Giants got to get pressure with the front four. Dak has been around the block. You're not going to be able to make a living blitzing Dak Prescott. Now, Bowen does, disguise him a couple ways. I think he might get pressure, but you're not going to be able to do that. The front four is definitely going to have to get pressure. We have no Drew Phillips. We have no Adoree Jackson. Our secondary is a little bit beat up, which sucks. And somebody's going to have to make a play. Now, Dallas's offensive line this is one of the worst lines they've had in a long time. They are terrible running the football. And I think that, Chris, when we watch the games, Dallas has always killed us at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. They've been able to run the ball at will and push us around. Well, they haven't been able to do that this year to anybody. And this is probably the best front seven we've had going against Dallas since Daniel Jones has been here. So I think that we can stop their run and you can put Dak in obvious passing situations. Then I think there's a chance we get to him. But if we do get there, we have to get the guy to the ground. We can't
bring him down.
We're close, when he gets out of it and he makes a play, that can't happen. I do feel like we match up better along the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball this time. They have a terrible run defense. I think we're going to have to run the ball. Singletary's done a very good job of running it. He's got to stop putting it on the ground. But I think this is going to be very competitive. They're not blowing us out. This ain't going to be 40-0. It ain't going to be 49-17. This isn't going to be the way it's been. It's not going to be a one-sided football game. I think the Giants are going to give Dallas everything that they want in this game.
Yeah, listen, Baddog. And let's say hello to everybody in the chat. But you hit it on the head. That's what I was going to bring up next. The run defense for the Dallas Cowboys. And it's only been 2 weeks, but they are dead last in the league in both yards given up and yards per carry against. They're giving up 5.4 yards a carry. That's not the Dallas Cowboys we've been accustomed to in recent history. We've been used to a team that is really strong on both sides of the line. You've been able to run the ball effectively on them, and you have to think that that's going to be a focal point for Dallas going into this game, much like it was for us last week from a defensive standpoint, to try to shore that up. But if they're going to do that, if they're going to add extra resources to be able to stop the run, well, you would think that would lend itself to potentially some big play opportunities for the Giants in the past. So we'll see. I'm excited. But, yeah, this does not feel like the same old Dallas Cowboys to me. And it's only 2 weeks into the season. But I don't know, Baddog. Maybe I'm buying into there we go. I didn't even do the thumbs up. Maybe I'm buying
balloons coming out.
Oh, go ahead. Maybe I'm buying too much. But I think this is going to be a competitive football game. I was encouraged with the way the team looked last week on both sides of the ball, offensively, defensively. I thought Dable called a great game, specifically in the first half. Yeah, and Neighbors, of course. We're all excited to see him. But let's say hello to a couple people in the chat. We got Victor in the chat, Nelly in the chat, Key to the Gate in the chat, Bill M in the chat, of course, diehard Giants fan in the chat, JC Silva in the Bill says, I want to believe. We all want to believe. What's going on, Andrew Christopher?
Yeah.
What's going on, Cop Izzle's 60-minute right-hand man? Good to see you in the chat as well. Adventure, thank you for being a member for 22 months. Chris the Bad Dog, like the matchup of rookie tackle and center versus RD line. Want to see, Bad Dog was saying that their offensive lines want to see Newman, Pinnock, and Belton on the field at the same time. I think you will. Well, we'll see, but we have a lot of injuries in that secondary. So Belton's definitely going to get more playing time than he probably has in recent weeks. They're going to have to figure it out. They're missing Drew Phillips, who's been a godsend for this team early on, and of course, Adoree Jackson as well as dinged up. So we'll see. Obviously, that's going to be something we worry about. That's the weakness of this defense to begin with. Last week, Banks struggled. He did. There's no way around it. He did. I think the first touchdown, people were getting on him a little too much. I thought it was actually great coverage, and that ball got there really fast. That was actually a really good
that touchdown. I thought he had good coverage on that too.
Yeah, he just didn't turn his head, but it was kind of a bang play. But the second touchdown, he was kind of in a tough situation where he was out on an island without any help on the 4-yard line, but he was definitely getting cooked throughout the course of the game. Amari Cooper's a tough receiver, but it doesn't get any easier with the guy who replaced Amari Cooper with CeeDee Lamb. So you got to figure, Bad Dog, the Giants are going to have to give him some help. And that goes back to the point you brought up earlier. I don't expect the Giants to come out guns a-blazing in this game in terms of the blitz. It's not the same situation. You're not going up against the rookie quarterback like Jaden Daniels. You're not going up against Deshaun Watson, who's a shell of himself. You're going up against the guy who's one of the better quarterbacks in the league, who is very good at diagnosing the blitz pre-snap. I'm not saying completely abandon the blitz. You have to be somewhat, but you have to be selective, and you got to be smart in the way in which you use it. Yep. And Playboy says, happy we won, but I don't like hearing they're back off one win. Every game's apart. Need consistency to believe. Cam Ward, you are a Giant. Hot take. Tracy is running back 1 by the end of the season. We'll see. Tracy actually got implemented a little bit more into the offense last week. I think he had maybe 2 or 3 carries. He had a couple of catches, so they started to use him a bit. I don't think he's going to take over as the bell cow, but I do think it'll become more of a committee as the year wears along. I'll say that, but I still think Motor will be, unless he gets hurt, of course. I think he'll be the.
Or if he keeps fumbling, he could be out of there
or
too.
That, of course, he's now at 2 fumbles to start the second half each of the last 2 games. So that's got to be something that's cleaned up. And of course, like, Giants can't do what they did last week, and they played a great game. I'm not taking that away from them. They went into 6.5-point underdogs. We won a game not many people expected us to win, but you can't do that against Dallas Cowboys. You can't fumble the ball coming out of the second half. You can't fumble the opening kickoff. Things like that can't happen tomorrow. The Giants have to make sure they take care of the football if they want to stand a chance to win this football game.
Yeah, I also think we got to play ahead. I don't think we can play from behind in this game. You don't want to play catch up with the Dallas Cowboys, and you don't want to get in a shootout with these guys either. Like, if Dallas is in the 30s, we're not winning this game. We're going to win games. It's the way we always have to win them right now. We have to muck it up. It's got to be murky. It's got to be ugly. It's got to be a lot of ground and pound. It's got to be low scoring. Giants going to have drives that consume time. Keep Dallas's offense off the field. Now, they haven't been able to run the ball, but whenever you have Dak Prescott and guys like CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks, they can definitely score in a hurry. We saw it against Baltimore. They were getting killed. Next thing you know, it went from 28-6 to 28-25 in about 4 minutes. I mean, they can put points on the board, especially if Dak is protected. And that's the thing. The Giants got to stop the run. They got to get Dak in 3rd down and long. And when they do that, that Bowen's probably not going to blitz. It probably would serve him better not to blitz Dak on 3rd down and long instead of play a little bit of a zone defense. But you got to make the tackle. Let them catch in front of you, but you got to make the tackle. Like you said, Chris, the Giants can't have mistakes. This isn't Cleveland. We can't afford those mistakes. This is Dallas. I know they're 1-2. I know they don't look good, but they're still Dallas. They still have a ton of talent on that team. This is a team that's winning 10 to 12 games every freaking year. You don't just completely fall off a cliff and win 3 games. That's not the Dallas Cowboys. But we have them in a vulnerable spot right now where they're not playing good defense. They're not protecting well. They're not running the ball at all. Got a chance, man. I never go into playing Dallas confident. And I'm not confident that we're going to win, but I'm confident we're going to be there at the end of the game. And I think that's all you can ask for as a Giants fan. Just give us a chance to win.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can steal one. If we win the game, but we go to 2-2, you're going to Seattle with a ton of confidence. And all of a sudden you're like right in the thick of the division. Of course, if you lose and you go to 1-3, it's right back to, here we go again. Who's the quarterback? Let's get Cameron Ward.
Yeah,
So
it's such a big game. It's such a big game because it could put you right back in the thick of it. All of a sudden, you say, okay, well now that this kind of replaces the Washington game, a game that we should have won. Now we were able to pick up a game not many people expected us to win 2 weeks in a row. Actually, most people had us pegged to lose to the Browns, and then you start to build some chemistry because some confidence. We saw that in 2022, right? It's a domino effect. They ended up winning a bunch of games that nobody expected because they had confidence. I think they started 5-1 or 6-1. So you win this game, who knows? I'm not. Seattle's obviously playing really well. I think they're 3-0 if I'm not mistaken.
yep.
But you win this game, who knows, man? Maybe you build some confidence. Maybe you win a few more games. Didn't necessarily expect us to win. If you lose, well, then we're back where we kind of were before last week. So it's such a big game. It kind of stinks that we only have 4 days after our first win, where I felt like we're building a little bit of confidence off that win, but now we get thrown right back in the fire against the Dallas Cowboys. So this will certainly be a test. There's no doubt about it. But
it might be. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think it's a game we can win. I'm not, again, like you said, I'm not going to go in expecting the way I'm approaching the Dallas Cowboys until I see us beat them. I'm picking Dallas until such time I see evidence, because every time I pick us to beat Dallas, they rip my heart out. Last year it was 40-0. I'm not doing it. But I am going into the game, much like last week, thinking this game is going to be competitive. I don't think this is going to be a blowout. Dallas is not hitting on all cylinders. They do seem somewhat vulnerable, and the Giants are coming off their best football game of the season. So I think we can keep this game tight. We're at home, so we'll see. But I like our chances to keep this game close.
I'll tell you, I think the short week actually benefits us because we are coming off a win and we are playing better and we are improving each week. And Dallas is struggling, and they don't really have a full week to get their shit together. And they also had to travel to our stadium. They had to travel to East Rutherford. So, I mean, the things are definitely trending in the Giants' direction. But again, when you just look at the recent history of the way this is matched up, it is definitely not going in our favor. We have not been close, even in games where we might have lost 23-13 or 24-14 or whatever. If you watched the game, it was never close. I mean, they beat us at that line of scrimmage so often. I don't think that's happening tomorrow. I really don't. And if we can force some turnovers, if we can get a turnover and just get ahead, if we can get ahead and play with a lead and run the ball effectively and convert these third downs, I think we can win. This is definitely getting, like, I don't go into Dallas going, we can win. I really do think we can win this game. I really do. I think that we got a good chance.
I think it's a game we're going to be in. I don't think this is going to be a 40-0 game. Word, thank you. He says, we'll see. We've lost to this team too many times. Yeah, I mean, listen, like I said, we haven't beaten Dak since his rookie year. We beat Dallas in 2021 or 2022, but it was without Dak.
It was Andy Dalton in 2020. I think the last time we beat Dallas was 2020.
Yeah, it's been a long time. So I won't pick us to beat them until such time I see it, but I do think we got a chance tomorrow. Zach says, Chris, please don't take the jacket. Why do you think I'm wearing it, Zach? Haven't taken it off, man. I've worn it to bed. I wear it in the shower. I have not taken it off since the New York Giants won on Sunday. We're going to be wearing it up until tomorrow night. If the Giants win, we'll be wearing this for the rest of the year if they beat the Dallas Cowboys. So we'll see how it plays out tomorrow, Zach, but jacket don't come off. Whatever you guys did last week, if you're a superstitious person like I am, like Baddog is, and a lot of sports fans are, do whatever you did, man. Whatever you did, whatever seat that you sat in to watch the game, whatever position you were in while you were lying down listening to us, whatever it was, make sure whatever TV you watched it on, if you were at your friend's house, go back to your friend's house tomorrow. We got to do everything we can to get a win tomorrow, guys.
Right. If you were in doggy style, do it. If you were 69, do it. If you whatever position you were in, get it done. Get it done. Score off and on.
Justin says, what's up, Chris and Baddog? I was there at MetLife last year, that 40-0 whooping, and I'll be at the game tomorrow. Both prime time, both raining. That's another thing. And I did look up the weather report because I saw a lot of people say that and praying for a different outcome. Go Giants. Thank you. Yeah, Justin, enjoy the game tomorrow, and hopefully they get a win for you. It's not like last year. I actually looked at the weather report about an hour ago because I saw what everybody was saying. I saw on Twitter that it's projected to rain. Yeah. At least when I saw it, it said only about 5 to 10% around game time, but who knows? That obviously that could change tomorrow. The forecast change, but I would actually think the rain may benefit us a little bit, right? Because that kind of slows down what I think offensively, at least on paper, you figure they probably have an advantage over us. So that actually may, I would think, slightly benefit us. But who knows? But we'll see.
I mean, again, I think. Yeah, it's supposed. I looked at it today as well because I was doing a stream with Law Nation. Because he was asking about the weather, and I checked it, and it said like supposed to be like 75 and just like showers, so not rain, but showers could come and go. I don't think there's anything heavy rain, but kind of like it is today. It's not really raining hard; it's just kind of around. So, but yeah, I mean it does. I think it might slow the aerial attack down a little bit, and if this game comes down to running the football, the Giants should actually have the advantage this year.
Yeah.
I don't want to see no freaking Zeke resurgence. I want to see. That's the type of shit that happens when we play Dallas, right? Oh, Dowdle gets hurt. Here comes 174-year-old Zeke, and he's gonna get 14 carries for 86 yards and a touch. Like all of a sudden, he's gonna find the fountain of youth and go off. Like that's a dumb crap.
Another thing I need tomorrow, Bad Dog. No cats. No black cats. Remember that? What was that? Like 2-3 years ago, the Giants had the lead. The black cat runs across the field. It was a primetime game against the Cowboys. Keep the cats away from MetLife. Right. Whatever you got to do, please.
Right.
And Christopher says, "Hey, Christopher, I hope you both are well too." Yeah, man, absolutely. He says, "Oh, 2 questions. 1, how have your expectations for the season changed after the first 3 games, and why?" They're still similar. I feel a bit better about the team, but I'm still in a similar state right now. I kind of expect this to be a team that could win 7 to 8 games, be somewhat competitive. So I was kind of falling off from that after the first game. Second week they played a bit better. So I'm kind of right where I was before the year started. I view them as like a 7 or 8 win team that I could see being competitive, especially if this pass rush continues to grow and get better. Most encouraging thing, which we haven't even talked about yet, is the offensive line. Now the offensive line last week, they did give up a lot of pressure. I'm not going to say they didn't. When you go back and look at some of the film, Daniel Jones got rocked. That touchdown throw to Malik Neighbors, when I got a chance to rewatch that play, that was an incredible play by Daniel Jones that I didn't give him enough credit for on live stream because obviously all of our attention was focused on Malik Neighbors. Daniel Jones got rocked on that throw by Myles Garrett, and he put it in a spot. A lot of people say that was a misthrow. Listen, when Myles Garrett is breathing down your neck, for you to throw across field and put it in a spot where only Malik Neighbors could come up with the catch, that was a damn good throw by Daniel Jones last week. But the offensive line, I'm not going to say was perfect last week, but what was encouraging to me, Bad Dog, is in the past when we would call these games and fans would go on Twitter and celebrate that the offensive line was starting to look better, I would always look at it and say, they did okay, but they had 7 guys, 8 guys staying in the block. And so you had limited guys running routes. We didn't have that last week. And we
had a lot of 4 and 5 wide last week.
4 and 5 wide, set, spread offense, and the screen game was incredible. The best game we've seen since Tiki Barber was a New York Giant. The way that Brian Daboll was able to dial that up, he was masterful in the first half, combating that blitz of the Cleveland Browns. So the offensive line, I thought when you factor in that we spread it out as much as we did, and we spread it out a lot, I thought they did a really good job when you factor in the opponent that they were going up against. So I think that's really encouraging, and we'll see how they do tomorrow. Obviously, a big test going up against arguably the best pass rusher, or among one of the best pass rushers, with Micah Parsons. And, of course, Tank Lawrence, who always seems to kill us on the other side. So It'll be a big test tomorrow. So we'll see how the New York Giants stack up. But I do have last week I started to say, okay, this offensive line is starting to be legitimate. Like, I'm not saying they're great, but I left that game feeling like this could be a decent offensive line by this year, which is nice to say for a change. I haven't seen a decent offensive line in quite some time for the New York Giants.
Yeah. Christopher. C-Mac, the legendary C-Mac, always asks the good questions. Like Chris said, I don't think after 3 games, I don't think the expectations change. If you would have asked me this after the Vikings game, I'd tell you we're the worst team in football. So they have improved. Literally, they definitely had a chance to be 2-1. They didn't get it done against Washington, but we were right there. Definitely played their best game against Cleveland without question on both sides of the football. When the Giants got that turnover, when Brian Burns, finally showed up and started playing better. And again, I think these guys are starting to get acclimated to Shane Bowen's system. It takes some time to get used to a new defensive coordinator. He made that strip sack and Chapman recovered it. Normally that's the type of thing where the Giants would get that and they would kick the field goal. They'd get 3 points. Instead, they went down and they scored a touchdown really fast. They went right down, they took advantage of it, scored a touchdown. 3 touchdowns in the first half. You've seen them get better week in and week out. Again, I don't think my expectations have wavered. I think I had us winning 7 or 8 games myself. This game, to me, will give us a really good measuring stick of what this New York Giants team is. I mean, because literally we could be 2-1, and then we might be looking at things totally different. But again, Dallas isn't playing the best football. They've always given us problems. And I think that the outcome of this game will really determine which direction the Giants go from here on out. And to your point, Chris, two things I've gotten right so far, and I don't ever get many things right, as everybody lets me know.
True.
Two things I've gotten right so far, right? My hot take was the offensive line was going to be average. I think it's been there, maybe even a little bit above. The offensive line has played well.
I think whether or not it can sustain this level, I don't know.
Correct.
But it's been
through the first 3 games, and Sam Darnold being a sleeper in fantasy football.
Yes, you did it.
An MVP. And those are two things that I've gotten correct so far. Also, I don't think a running game has fallen off that much off of what Barkley gave.
Game's been good so far.
People can say, "Oh, but Barkley's got more," but Barkley's on a better team.
Yeah,
Barkley wouldn't have the same numbers on our team as he does in Philly. So Singletary's averaging 5 yards a carry. That's pretty good. Stop putting the ball on the ground, but it's pretty good. And
the other thing I'll add to that, though, we haven't really used Daniel Jones's legs that much yet, which is understandable.
They might do that in this game. I think that's something.
I can see that being an X factor in this game tomorrow. Is you might say, Daniel, we're going to need you to get 60 yards on the ground because that's a weapon that the Giants haven't used that much. They've used it at times, but not that much.
And if you look at what Lamar Jackson did to them last week, he got a lot of yards. And I'm not saying Daniel Jones is Lamar Jackson by any stretch of imagination, but he's also not a statue. He can run. So I could definitely see some more RPOs in this game than we've seen all year.
Yeah. And then to answer your second question, Chris, and thank you again. He says, what does Daniel Jones need to do this season to prevent the GM from picking the quarterback in round 1? Yeah, I mean, listen, I've been asked this in several live streams. I'm going into the year feeling almost identical to the way I felt going into 2022. I went into that year saying to people when they asked me that question, at that year, because Derek Carr was coming off a good year, he's got to do what Derek Carr did in 2021. Derek Carr took a Raiders team that had a lot of injuries that nobody expected to make the playoffs. He took them to the playoffs. He put the Raiders in a position where they could not draft a quarterback, and then the Raiders extended him. Daniel Jones did something very similar to that. He didn't have a lot of help. He got the team to the playoffs. Of course, they won the playoff game, and he got the I call it a 2-year contract. I know it's a 4-year contract, but it was a 2-year commitment. This year, it's very similar to me. Of course, he's not getting extended. If anything, the best case scenario for Daniel Jones is he gets to be the starting quarterback in 2025. He's not getting any more commitment than that. If he puts them in a situation where they can't move off of him, and they will evaluate him another year as they continue to build up the roster. That's the best case for Daniel Jones when it comes to the New York Giants starting quarterback. What does he need to do? Like I said, something very similar to 2022. He's got to put the team in a position where they don't feel comfortable being able to get a quarterback in the draft. And he's got to play well enough where they say, well, the $19 or $20 million, which in today's NFL, Bad Dog, is not a lot when you're talking about the quarterback position. It's not. That's like a backup almost. But the $19 or $20 million that we can use if we cut him is not worth it. We'd rather just keep Daniel Jones for the 19 or 20 million. So that puts me right back in the same spot as 2022. If the Giants make the playoffs, Daniel Jones more than likely, I'm not going to guarantee it, but more than likely will be the quarterback in 2025. But he's got a long way to go to get there, Bad Dog. Got a long way to go.
Chris, one word. He has to win.
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter. The Giants have to win. Daniel Jones can have a good year, and if we win 4 games, we're taking a quarterback.
He's replaced. Yeah.
Daniel Jones Daniel Jones and the Giants have to play themselves out of a quarterback pick in this year's draft class. If the Giants miss the postseason and they are drafting top 10, Joe Shane is walking out of that draft in 2025 with a QB. And in my opinion, he will get rid of 2026's first round pick if he has to move up 5 spots to get a Cameron Ward, to get a Carson.
Because now he feels more comfortable. Now he feels more comfortable. Now he has that Malik Neighbors. He's got that.
And he has a better offensive line. So that's what's going to happen. If we win like we did in 2022 and we're picking 24th, 25th, we're not getting a quarterback. It'll be Daniel Jones. But if we're picking 8th, even if Daniel Jones has a solid year, he's not here. Because we're not winning football games. It's the same reason they would have let Barkley walk, because they're like, well, he's a great player, but we're not winning with him. And we can't give him money. So let's get rid of Daniel Jones. Let's put that $20 million maybe back into the offensive line or get a cornerback, something, take that money and put it somewhere else and get a rookie quarterback and a rookie contract and go from there. Like Chris said, knowing that you now have an offensive line that you've built and you'd have a year of free agency, you'd have another year of draft, so you can build that line more. You have I don't know what the running back situation will be, but I think Singletary got 3 years.
I don't remember. It was like only $4.5 to $5 million a year.
Yeah. I couldn't remember how many years ago. So maybe it's Singletary, but you also have a Jalen Hyatt now. Or Jalen Hyatt. Well, you have him too. Malik Neighbors, Wandale Robinson. Yeah, you have a Theo Johnson. Like your offense has kind of come together. So whatever the quarterback is, he's coming into a much better situation. Yeah. If the Giants don't win a lot of games, it's a quarterback. If they play themselves out of a quarterback, Daniel Jones will be back. I really don't think it matters what Daniel Jones does because he's not going to put up Patrick Mahomes numbers. He's not going to win an MVP. He's not going to put up those kind of numbers. That's not his game. So even if he has a year where he says, say he throws for 3,600 yards and he has 26 touchdowns and 11 interceptions, 12 interceptions, I still think they would move on from him if they were 5-12.
If they're picking sixth, yeah.
Right.
It's all dependent on where we're picking in the draft. But if they're picking sixth and again, love a quarterback, which we don't know that, but if they do, yes, they would move on from him 100%. Mr. Sinor, love to see Mr. Sinor in the chat. Love him. He said our special teams coordinator on the live.
Maybe he can kick.
Yes, Sinor, we need you, buddy. The Giants right now are down to their backup kicker. We missed a 40-yarder. We need Sinor out there for the Giants, Bad Dog. He says, at what point is Dable out? I don't think Dable's in trouble, but I know that started to, and rightfully so. The team was off to a really shaky start, and I don't want to say it's rainbows and butterflies. It's one win, but the first 2 weeks, really shaky, especially when you factor in how he handled the kicker situation with Gano week 2. Week 1, the play calling was bad. Let's be honest. But I will say over the last 2 weeks, the play calling has gotten a lot better. And last week in particular, it got really good in the first half. Like that was like master class by both coordinators. I want to say, by the way,
yes, they were in a very good rhythm in that first half.
Yeah. But yeah, I think Brian Dable's safe, man. So, I mean, listen, I can't predict the future. You know, there's another question I've been asked all offseason. I can't predict the future because if you would ask me this question week 3 in 2020 or whatever year we fired McAdoo, I would have said, no way. Then the team fell apart. He got fired. I would have said, no way to Pat Shurmur 3 weeks into his second year. Or so things can happen, but I'm certainly not trending towards, I think we're going to fire Dable. I think Dable's going to get at least another year next year. And if they draft their quarterback, and we'll see if they do. Hopefully we don't. Hopefully we win the Super Bowl. But if they do, I think that further cements Dable here for an additional year because you're going to want to give him time with that rookie quarterback. But Bad Dog, I don't think Dable's good. I don't think Dable's gone. I think he's going to be
either. I think Dable's got to have his quarterback. I think both of those guys got to have their quarterback, or it's just got to fall right off the track. It's got to go right over a cliff like it did with Joe Judge, where you're just embarrassing yourself week in and week out, and those guys stop playing for you. But they don't quit on Dable. I mean, that's the thing. Yeah. They just don't quit. They play hard for him, and I think that speaks volumes about his coaching style. And I do. Maybe it took him a little bit of time to get into a play calling rhythm and figure out what he's got. Because remember, these guys do not play in the preseason at all. Like they play like 3 drives. You really don't get a feel. You don't get a chemistry. You don't get a rapport. You don't really see what's going on. You're not playing against real defenses. So it's hard to judge the way they do this now. So a lot of times the first 3 weeks, it's rare to see a team actually come out firing on all cylinders. Yeah. It really is. It's not. That's why what Minnesota's doing is really impressive.
Yeah.
You know what's amazing is we've been doing this show for so long that Sinor was like 12 or 13 when we started this. Now he
can actually be a professional NFL kicker.
Right. He's a grown man. That is unbelievable. And I remember, I think it was Sinor who made one of the funniest videos ever when he was making breakfast and he put like a pepper shaker on the stove and it broke.
Yes.
That was hilarious.
Yes.
That was so funny. I laughed so hard at that. That was way back in the day.
Yes. Sinor legitimately, I was asking if he could kick for the Giants because he's an adult.
I know.
But JT says game day is like Christmas after when early in the year there's easy wins. Giants are taking the division back tomorrow with the pass rush. I sure hope so, man, JT. And if the Giants are going to win this game, let's be honest, and that's what we said last week too. That's most weeks with this team. That's their bread and butter. And again, I'm going to give the offense their credit last week. They were great in the first half. But where this team is going to win their game is the pass rush. That's how they're going to win their games. That's the strength of this football team. Last week, 8 sacks. They've had 13 sacks in their last 2. They should have won their last 2. And Washington, by the way, looks pretty good. They look pretty good against Cincinnati Bengals. So Giants should have beat what looks to be a pretty good team. And they should be 2-1. But it is what it is. You can't do coulda, shoulda, wouldas. We'll see how we stack up tomorrow against the Dallas Cowboys. But if we're going to win, Bad Dog, it's going to be the same recipe. You have to get pressure on the quarterback. We're going to have to do it a different way because there is no way Bowen's going out there and blitzing as frequently as he did last week. It's not happening. But you have to find a way to be able to get some pressure on Dak Prescott. If they do that, yeah, they're going to stand a good chance to win this football game.
Watching the game Monday night, I'm watching and I'm sitting there going, man, Jaden Daniels looks pretty good. And listen, I won my fantasy week. I had Brian Robinson. I had Zach Ertz. We had Terry McLaurin. I mean, we had a lot of commanders. And, of course, he makes the one throw to Terry McLaurin. It's one of his very few incompletions. I think he only missed 2 passes. Terry McLaurin was wide open. He totally missed him. But Daniels played so good. I'm watching that game going, oh, he looks really good. The freaking pass to McLaurin that win the game pretty much, where there's a defender hitting him in the chest of his helmet, and on just a whip of the arm, he throws the ball 50 yards down the field into the corner of the end zone. You couldn't have placed it any better. I had to tweet it. I go, ugh, I think the Commanders got one. And I mean, it's early. He's going to go through growing pains. Every rookie does.
Yeah.
But by far, of all the rookie quarterbacks, the son of Drake May's not playing. He looks the best. It's not close. Caleb is struggling. Bo Nix hasn't thrown a touchdown yet.
Yeah, which to be fair, shouldn't be too. He's 25. So you would kind of expect him to look better, but I'm not going to downplay his performance on Monday night. He looked incredible. And that throw that he made, the throw that you're talking about to McLaurin,
was sick.
He released that ball, like you said. He's got a man hitting him right in the ribs. He released that ball when McLaurin was on the 20-yard line. He released that ball when McLaurin was on the 20-yard line. He threw it 8 yards deep into the end zone, and it was right there.
That's what I mean. That was just
that throw. A great throw. It was a great throw.
That throw, I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I was like, shit. I mean, I loved it because I won my fantasy with that one. That was icing on the cake, the big thing. But I just remember going, oh shit. I'm like, man, he's good. Like, I just remember because the first week he didn't look very good from what I saw. And against us, he had his moments, but he didn't. I kept saying he's leaving the pocket too soon. He's going to get hurt. And Drew Phillips crushed him once and he got up. But he was so much more control and he's getting better. Like I've seen improvement just the first 3 weeks. So, yeah, I mean, listen, Cincinnati may be 0-3, but Patrick Mahomes had his lowest passing yards in the history of his career in any game that he finished. He only had 151 yards against that defense. So it's not like Cincinnati's a 0-3 team that's just getting their doors blown off and they're a terrible defense. Yeah. Got to give them credit. But yes, Chris, with that being said, if we have a kicker, I'm not guaranteeing we win against Washington, but the game's different. There's no doubt about it.
I think we would have won.
And I do think we would have won. And Commander fans are like, oh, we false started 5 times. Well, that's not our fault. Yeah. Just like it's not your fault, but we didn't feel the kicker. Having a false start, having penalties happens like when Zach Ertz decided, when Zach Ertz decided to run over Drew Phillips and they called a holding call that gave them an automatic first down. Or how about the bullshit pass interference call on Deonte Banks and he didn't even touch McLaurin and he ran out of bounds and they call, come on. So penalties happen. There was no excuse to not have a kicker. So we were there and we could be, but you know, like I said, try to pay your mortgage on could. It ain't going to happen.
We got to make up for it tomorrow. What I'll say is I'm always a guy that likes to look at it like the breaks even out at the end of the year, or at least I like to think that's the case. Last week, let's be honest, Baddog, as good as the offense played, we caught a break. The roughing the passer penalty, not saying it wasn't a penalty, but it's a stupid penalty. Yep. If that doesn't happen, that's a completely different game. The Giants are down 14-0 to start the game before you even turn the TV on, and that just changed the complete momentum of the game. So last week, we caught a break here. Obviously, our kicker goes down. That's awful, and that's more so on Brian Dable, but we'll see how it works out.
Our kicker didn't look good last week.
Yeah, he looked awful. Awful. If he's bad again this week, he's got to be replaced.
What's Rosas doing these? Is Matt Barr still around? Anybody know? Anybody got Matt Barr's phone number? Lawrence Tynes. He's not. Maybe Tynes can come back.
Tynes looks like he's still in playing shape.
Yeah,
we've had him on the show before. Maybe.
Right. Yeah, maybe we can.
Anthony says Washington finally beat us. It's our turn versus Dallas. It's a good way to look at it. We always have Washington's number. They beat us. It's our turn to take on the Dallas Cowboys. Absolutely.
It has to happen eventually. Just like Washington had to beat us eventually. It has to happen.
I'm with that.
Let's do it.
Yeah. And Door Gunner, congratulations. I know you're a Washington fan. Congratulations on the win this past week. He says, Giants fan for one night. I'm sure you are. The Cowboys are on the brink of implosion. If the Giants win, then the Cowboys crash out goes into full effect. I'm here for. Bad Dog, I'm going to tell you what. If Dallas loses this game, and I think they can, I'm not going into this game thinking we got no shot. No, I don't feel that way. If Dallas loses this game, it is going to be mayhem.
Yeah.
In Jerry World, mayhem in Jerry World. Like it's gonna be panic city.
Guys, you have to unzip and put it on the table, and Jerry's gonna have to measure him out, Chris. He's gonna have him.
So we'll see. A lot of pressure. I mean, obviously, some pressure for the Giants. I'm not gonna say we have no pressure, but Dallas. I mean, a team like you said every year, 10 wins, 12 wins. They're a team that has expectations going into the year. If they drop to 1-3 and lose to a team they have not lost to since Dak Prescott's been a starter since 2016, it's going to be mayhem in Jerry World. So a big game for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, especially after they just gave CD the bag and they just gave Dak $240 million for the next 4 years. Like that, these are huge. Like if they drop to 1-3, as Judas Priest said way back in 1982, some heads are gonna roll. This was gonna happen. I mean, you could definitely see guys on the hot seat immediately. And if they continue to go down, I mean, McCarthy might not make it through the year.
I agree.
I think McCarthy's a good coach anyway.
Yeah.
And you have lame duck coordinators anyway. They're there in 1 year. And Mike Zimmer is not a good defensive coordinator. We know that.
Yeah.
So we really could, put a boot. We could knock Dallas in the coffin. Now we're not going to nail it shut this early in the year, but we could certainly knock him in that coffin. Yeah. We could certainly put him in there early in the year, and then there'll be other teams' jobs to finish him off. But
then we could sweep them later in the year.
Right. If they lose to a Giants team that they never lose to, and they drop to 1-3, and they're in last place in the division, after you just gave CD and Dak a combined $375 million or whatever it was, that ain't a good look for them. So I would love, because listen, I talk a lot of shit about Philly, but don't get it twisted. I hate Dallas every bit as much. Well, maybe not every bit as much, but like this much less than Philadelphia.
It's a photo finish for me. It's a photo finish. It's a neck and neck race. This week I hate Dallas more than I hate the Eagles, but I would say the Eagles narrowly, but it's so close.
Yeah, I just think I have more fun with I think I have more fun trash talking the Eagles fan base because they really get pissed and I enjoy it.
Let's ask the chat. I'm curious to get the chat responses. Then, I'll scroll back up and make sure I get to all your guys' super chats, but I want to get with the live chat. I want to get the responses from the Giants fans in the chat because I think this is interesting. I think it's more of a generational thing. I think the older Giants fans tend to side more with the Cowboys because the Cowboys were dominant.
Put a poll in the chat.
I don't have it on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
But yeah, just post your responses, guys. Who do you hate more? I think the younger fans is more so the Eagles because they've dominated us. Well, no, the Cowboys have dominated us, but the Eagles have beaten us in bigger spots in recent memory. So
I'm an older guy, and I hate the Eagles more.
Yeah. I'm with you. I hate the Eagles more too.
It swings around. I mean, there's been times like in the 90s, I hated the Cowboys more than I hated the Eagles. That wasn't close.
Yeah.
So it changes. It changes.
A lot of people are saying Cowboys. A lot of people
hate the Cowboys. But me, it goes back to Buddy Ryan. I hated Buddy Ryan. I hated those stupid Eagle teams back then. Man, I hated Seth Joyner. I hated Clyde Simmons. Andre Waters was a dirty fucker. I couldn't stand that guy. I hated that team. Keith Byers. I couldn't stand Anthony Toney, Via Sikahima. Screw them. I have hated them forever. Yeah. I can't stand Philadelphia. I really can't. I just a shit city for people that eat shit, and that's exactly what they do. I hate it.
It's a disgusting city. It really is.
It's just gross. Their jerseys are gross. Their coach is gross. They're gross. Like that's a good word for the Eagles. Gross.
Nick Sirianni.
Yeah.
Hey Nick, you happy with that Jalen Hurts contract right now? I'm loving it. Hey, Nick, are you going to be fired by year's end? Yeah. I'll never let him live down that face.
Hey, Nick, do you put pineapple on your pizza?
Big Moo says, just win, baby, win. Let's go, Big Moo. And Corp says, what is this? What is the stats in NFL history of facing a divisional rival twice on Thursday in the same season? Well, obviously, it's not very likely because this is the only scenario where this is probably the first time that's ever happened, I would think, because Thursday Night Football didn't come around until when did Thursday Night Football start, Bad? Like 15 years ago?
Yeah, 15, 20 years ago. I wonder if we did it with Washington, because I know we played Washington on Thursday night.
You're right.
Thursday night Thanksgiving. I remember doing that. So maybe them. I mean, I'm saying with us, it has to have happened before.
Very rare, though. Very rare. Where you play on 2 different Thursdays in the same year, because it would almost have to be either the Cowboys or the Lions, because those are the only 2 teams that play on Thanksgiving every year. I'm not saying that it have to be, but more than likely, it's very tough for that to happen. So it's certainly rare. Let's put it that way. That the Giants and Cowboys are going to have a rare, an off week when they play one another. So yeah, that's an interesting. I'd have to look that up. That's an interesting question, Corp.
Somebody in that chat said I act like I live in New York City. I don't even know what the hell that means. What the hell does that mean? I don't know what that means. What does that mean? How can you act like you live in New York City? I've never claimed to live in New York City. I claim to live upstate all the time. I don't claim to. I live in upstate New York. I say it all the time. I don't know what the hell that means. How do you act like you live in New York City?
Are they? I guess maybe they're. I don't know. Yeah,
I don't know what that means. This is just me. This is the way I am. It's the way my dad was. It's the way my grandpa. We always lived upstate. I don't know what that means. I'm a New Yorker.
Yeah, people from other parts, and there goes my
train.
Yeah, but
I'm Italian. I guess we all act the same. That's what it is. There you go.
Yeah, people from other parts of New York could still have the New York accent or whatever it may be.
I don't really have the accent. I just don't know what the hell that means. I'll take that as a compliment, though.
Yeah, you have a Northeast. You can tell when you listen to you're from the Northeast. Maybe not specifically New York.
Right. Yeah, but I don't have the this is the entertainer when I started up on YouTube with the fuck the lies balls. On all my YouTube, Twitter, and all that stuff. I never so long that I've changed his accent. That's
Laidback says game plan to beat the Cowboys, run the ball. Yeah, well, you have to figure that's got to be the game plan going in based off of how bad they've been against the run. They're dead last in yards per carry against, total yards against on the ground. But you have to think also Dallas is going to try to combat that by probably putting more men in the box to try to force Daniel Jones to throw the ball. But if they do that, which they haven't had to do in the past when they were good against the run, we're going to have more of an opportunity to hit some big plays. So I agree that the Giants have to come out and try to establish the run. There's no doubt about it, especially with the weakness of this Dallas team and how well the Giants offensive line has played. But, and I said it on Twitter today, a lot of people laughed at it. And maybe I'll look like a fool. I have not been a guy that's been pounding the table for Jalen Hyatt. You have more than me. I have not been pounding the table for Jalen Hyatt. I have said that I think it's completely understandable that Darius Slayton has been starting above him. He's been a good Giant, yada, yada, yada. I think this is Jalen Hyatt's breakout game this week. I really believe that. Darius Slayton's a little bit dinged up. He's kind of questionable. Don't know if he's going to play or not. You have to think that, of course, Neighbors is going to get a ton of attention. He's going to be double covered. They're going to have safety help over there the entire game. And you factor in that the Dallas Cowboys are going to have to use extra resources to try to stop the run. I think Hyatt's going to get some big play opportunities on the other side. Whether or not Daniel Jones can hit him, we'll see. He's been 0 for 5 or 0 for 6 on deep shots. But I think Hyatt's going to have a few plays in this game where he has an opportunity to hit some big plays. I think Hyatt's in for a big game. I think tomorrow is going to be his breakout game.
Because if we're going to win, I can see that happening. Like, that's the scenario. If you're the underdog and you're going to beat a team, it's usually a guy that you don't expect to show out that has these big plays. I can see Jalen Hyatt, like you mentioned, maybe he only has 2 catches, but it's for like 84 yards. And he like at the end of the game, it's like 3rd and 7, and we need a big play, and they're all over Neighbors. And Daniel Jones hits Jalen Hyatt down the sideline for a 35-yard gain and clinches the game, that type of thing. Yes, I want to see Jalen Hyatt, not so much because I think like he's better than Darius Slayton. He's obviously got a different skill set. He's just a straight burner. But I don't think Slayton's a future of the team. I think Slayton's gone after this year. So I just want to see what Jalen Hyatt can do. I just kind of want him to have his opportunity.
Yeah. And most Giant fans agree with you.
Yeah.
So
that's really all it is. That's not like I'm saying, this guy's a great receiver, because we haven't really seen him.
Yeah.
And Slayton's been Daniel Jones's favorite target. I mean, Slayton has had a very good career for a guy that was a 5th-round pick. He's been very productive. He's had some drop problems, but he's been very productive. And he's been Daniel Jones's most consistent receiver his entire career. So I understand Slayton starting without question. I just wish we'd have more packages that had Hyatt out there with Slayton.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Hyatt should start over Slayton, but I'd like to see Hyatt on the field more.
And the good news is, I think last week you started to see that they're starting to open up with more packages. We saw a lot of 5 wide. It'll be interesting to see if the Giants continue the pattern that they used last week. Of course, it's a completely different defense where they really started to heavily emphasize the running back in the passing game, whether it be wheel routes, screen passes. Theo Johnson started to get a little bit involved, or the tight ends in general. Bellinger had a nice catch. I think they hit Theo with 2 passes, one of which was a screen pass. So they started to open it up more. It was kind of more so just individually neighbors the first couple of weeks. Now they're starting to expand it a bit. I think maybe I'll be dead wrong. I really think Jalen Hyatt's going to have a game tomorrow. I think he's going to have a big game.
The other thing we saw them doing with 5 wide is line Tyrone Tracy up wide, because Tyrone Tracy obviously was a wide receiver in college, and he kind of shifted to running back, but he's definitely a guy that can go out as a wide receiver and catch. So we did see him line up quite a bit. So you may see Singletary and Tracy out there together a lot. I mean, that's very possible that you could see that. And don't be surprised. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there was some trickeration here from Brian Dable in this one. Maybe a double reverse, maybe a flea flick.
They tried it last week that with Neighbors. He was going to throw a pass, and then they kind of tucked it in because they broke it up. So I can certainly see something like that in the playbook, especially around the goal line for sure. And Big Moo says,
what a legend Big Moo is. Just a legend. Legendary Big Moo.
Legend.
He's the man.
Is there any excuse to not have a qualified punt returner or field goal kicker? Well, the field goal kicker is what it is. Gano got hurt. I'm not going to complain that they got a guy off the street because that's who you have to choose from at this point. My only complaint with that is you should have had a backup plan for week 2, but it is what it is. I'm not going to expect the guy that we just brought in to be good. At 32 teams could have had him. They didn't. So he's the best guy that we could find, I suppose. So I'm not going to go crazy about that. The punt returner, Gunner got hurt too. He was supposed to be the punt returner day 1. So the Giants kind of had some unfortunate circumstances there, the first couple of weeks with injuries at those positions. And I think that's the second straight year where that happened, if I'm not mistaken, Baddog, right? Like, second
Gunner got hurt right after we got him. He got hurt, and with Eric Gray back there, and we put guys back there that just whoever the hell we put back there seems to can't catch it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's amazing. You don't think about special teams most of the time until you don't have them. And it shows how important they are. A lot of people forget about how important special teams are. And don't forget about this kicker Dallas has. I mean, literally, they could get to midfield, and they're in field goal range. It's insane, this guy's leg. So
that's a huge – I didn't even think about that. That is a huge –
Now, the good thing is, Chris, the weather is not going to be great.
Yeah.
So, and he's not kicking indoors, and we know that the MetLife turf is shit. And when it gets wet, it's shittier. So I don't think he's going to be able to sit there and kick 65-yard field goals. He's probably can still hit from 58, 59.
Yeah.
But I don't think he'll be able – they won't just be like, it's a 65-yarder. Let's just kick it. Because if they line up for a 65-yarder, I mean, the Giants have the ball in Dallas territory to start a drive. I don't think they want to do that.
Yeah.
So the weather does help us out a little bit in that aspect.
Yeah, that's still a huge edge for the Cowboys going into this game. I mean, we obviously could still win, but they have a huge advantage with the kicker because – like you said, he's one of the better in the league. Like 55 to 60 yards, you feel relatively confident he's going to make it. With the guy that we have, I'm not
40?
confident. Maybe 40. So that's a big advantage there. So
we just got to score sevens.
Exactly. We got to score sevens.
We haven't kicked a field goal in 2 weeks. We've scored 6 touchdowns.
It's true.
Really should have had 7 touchdowns.
I was going to say because he fell down at the 1 yard line. It should be 7. Yeah. 1 out of 10. How confident are you in our D line versus Dallas? Well, what I'll tell you in the past, Percival, I would have told you 1 because our D-line never gets pressure. And as much as I love Dex, and Dex, in my opinion, has graduated to the best, if not the best, the second or third best, but I think the best interior defensive lineman in the NFL. He's already got 3 sacks.
They got rookie interior linemen. I mean, our guy Cooper Beebe, Lawrence.
In the past, though, they've handled Dex.
Yes.
Both the Eagles and the Cowboys. I don't think they're going to be as successful tomorrow. And if they are, they're going to have to double and triple team them. And that's going to allow Burns and that's going to allow Kayvon to do some work on the outside.
So we'll also allow blitz to get there if they got
to blitz. Yeah. So in the past, Bad Dog, I would have told you 1, but I would say at least a 5. I don't think this is the same Dallas Cowboys offensive line we've seen in the past, and I think this is the best Giants pass rush we've seen in a while. So I'm not going to go in overly confident. I'm not going to tell you we're going to dominate their offensive line, but I don't think we're going to get manhandled at the trenches like we have in years past.
Yeah, I'm probably about a 6 because I do feel like we're going to be able to get some pressure, especially in the middle. And when you can't run the ball and you got a guy like Dexter Lawrence taking up space in the middle, I mean, Dallas should have a tough time running the football. So, and I don't care who you are. If you are relegated to passing every time you drop back, there's a recipe for disaster. Even if it's Patrick Mahomes, like he can't drop back and throw every time. Josh Allen can't drop back and throw every time because eventually you're going to make a mistake. Eventually you're going to get hit. It's going to happen. You have to be able to keep the defense off balance. If you can't run the football and become one-dimensional, it's going to make it easier for the Giants to play against that type of offense. So, I feel a lot better adding a Brian Burns and having a Thibodeau and having a Dexter Lawrence because, like Chris said, they had the double and triple team. When we saw Micah McFadden on the blitz, he was great. Micah McFadden played great. I'm pretty sure he's good to go. He got dinged up too, but I'm pretty sure he's playing.
He's good. He's not in the injury report.
But he was really good. And then another thing that's really good for us is Andrew Thomas really took Myles Garrett out of the game. Myles Garrett had a couple plays. Thomas got called for holding, but Myles Garrett's one of the best. And
yeah, I would say it was Garrett definitely had plays where he dominated Andrew Thomas, but factoring in that it's Myles Garrett and he's superhuman, Andrew Thomas did about as good as you could have thought.
That's the thing. So if he gets Parsons, I mean, if he can nullify Parsons, we got a chance.
Yeah, for sure. If you could put him on an island with Parsons, and if Illuminor could hold his own against Lawrence on the other side, maybe with a little help. Yeah, I think the Giants have a chance to win this football game because I do think our defensive line is not going to get pushed around. I'm not going to say we're going to win the battle. I think we could.
We won't get dominated this time.
I don't think we're going to get dominated on the defensive side, on the defensive line. John says in a close game, their place kicker is a lot better than ours. Yeah. That worries me. Please take Gray off the return team. Pound. I'm with you, John. And if you insist on keeping Gray back there, which I don't want, he fumbled again. Just tell him to take a knee. Don't even take it out. Like Bad Dog, with the new rules, and we say it every week when we watch these games, with the new rules on kickoffs, if that ball goes into the end zone, the risk so far outweighs the reward because you're going to start at the 30. Chances are 9 times out of 10, you're not going to get past the 30 when you run it back when it goes into the end zone. And if you do, you might get to the 35. It's not like we have an electric returner. And when you take it out, you open yourself up to fumbles. You open yourself up to penalties. You open yourself
a lot of penalties. Illegal blocking.
Up to falling 5 yards short of the 30-yard. So the risk reward there, it doesn't make sense.
Agreed.
Just take the knee if they kick it into the end zone.
Agreed.
Doesn't make sense.
Because more often than not, you're going to start inside the 30 if you don't take a knee.
Yeah. So if you insist on keeping Gray back there, just tell him to take a knee. I don't want you taking it out.
Right.
And Memo Nader says, going to my first game at MetLife tomorrow with my wife. That's awesome, man, who's a Cowboys fan. Well, I'm sorry about that. Hoping for a good game. No, you must really love her, and she must really love you if you guys are married and you're Giants and Cowboys fans. But
she's probably a great woman, but she's got bad taste in football teams. I mean, obviously, she's got great taste in men, just bad taste in football.
Well,
it happens.
Great taste in men if she married a Giant fan. I'll give her that.
I
don't know about Meminator's taste in women, if I'm being honest. But
I mean, what I do know is her taste in football teams is bad. So
yeah,
but you can live with that. You know, in your vows, it doesn't say "Thou shall not marry within the division." So you're okay there. But hopefully you're the one laughing at her, and she's not laughing at you at the end of the game. That's what you got to hope for.
No, all kidding aside, man. I hope you have a great time at the game, and it should be a good game. I think it's going to be a good game. I think you're going to enjoy it. So enjoy the game, man. Yeah. Hopefully you got good seats. And let's see. Lucas, thank you so much, man. I hope a meteor hits MetLife so we get a new stadium. Yeah. Don't expect that anytime soon, man. With how much they spent on that stadium, taxes in New York or New Jersey, I should say, maybe in 20 years. But I don't expect it anytime soon, man. And
just
I get it.
Turf.
Yeah, exactly. Bad Dog, at the end of the day,
turf.
We've had these conversations since I've been on YouTube. People have complained about the uniforms. People have complained about the stadium. And I agree with the stadium. The stadium is, when you look around the league, you're like, how did we end up with this? How did the Raiders end up with that? How did we end up with this? How did the
How did
Cowboys?
the Rams end up with it?
How did the Rams? I get it. But at the end of the day, Bad Dog, if the team's winning, nobody gives a shit.
Nobody cares.
Like they could play in a sandlot if the team's winning Super Bowls. So we talk about these things because the team hasn't been playing well. I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't like a better stadium. I'm not saying I may not like a newer uniform, but at the end of the day, I don't really care as long as the team's winning football games. That's always my outlook on it.
Right.
But thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. But I agree. The stadium was certainly underwhelming the first time I went to it. I was excited to see it.
Yes.
Joe says, and the turf's got to go. Joe says, hello, gents. Good to see you, Joe.
Our guy, Joe.
Simmons on their tight end needs to be a Hawk. Nobody listens to Joe. Throw the ball on first down, please. We are so predictable still. I'll be at the game cheering we can win. Enjoy the game, Joe, man.
Our guy going to this one.
What is that?
A lot of people going to this game. Our guy Chris Devers, who's a Cowboys fan, he's been in the chat. I've known Chris since I've been on YouTube pretty much. He DM'd me on Instagram. He's there. He's ready for the game. I don't think he's ever been to MetLife Stadium, but he's there. So he showed me some pictures and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, have a good time, man, but not too much fun, because he's a Cowboys fan. So
it's a big game.
It's your turn to sit in the rain like this.
Where do you think the pulse of the fan base will be if we win? Like, where do you think Giants fan? Where's the pulse if we win? Are fans like at that point? What I will be happy about at that point? Draft talk is done. I'm not where there's no more talking about, for me at least for the next 4 or 5 weeks. If they beat the Dallas Cowboys, now I'm in full 2024 season mode. And like you said, if they lose, then that chatter is going to spark itself back up again. But if we win this game, Bad Dog, where's the pulse at? Do you think Giants fans are like bought in? Are they like, this could actually be a really fun season like 2022? Or are they still kind of like reserved? Are they still kind of like, we won, this is great, we haven't beaten the Cowboys in forever, but it's a dinged up Cowboys team. This isn't the same Cowboys team. I need to see a lot more before I'm willing to invest my heart and soul into this team, thinking that they could actually have a somewhat special season. Where's the pulse if they win this game tomorrow night?
I think it's a lot like politics. I feel like if you're already on one side, nothing they do is going to change it. I'm, to be honest, I think the people that are already gung-ho about keeping Daniel Jones and wanting the Giants to succeed, I think they stay there. I think the people that want to tank and want Daniel Jones out of here, I think they stay there. I think the people in the middle, I think at that point, you have to feel pretty confident. You started off 0-2. You look really bad week 1 against a very good Minnesota Viking team, mind you. So looking at what Minnesota is now, that loss, even though it was not good, trust me, it was still embarrassing. We got our ass kicked. But you're saying that team's a lot better than we thought they were. Washington looks pretty good. And again, I won't say we should have won, but we definitely had a very good chance to beat them. Then, of course, you beat Cleveland. You're playing better. You're going up. You're looking better. Week in and week out, you're improving. If you beat a team you've only beaten once in like 5 years and you knock them to the bottom of the division, this is the type of game that could give the Giants team a shitload of confidence. Say, hey, we just did that. They're not going to think, oh, they're beat up. Oh, they're not playing well. Oh, because this happens to every team. Nobody's sitting there going, well, the Giants be really good, but man, they lost this guy and they lost that guy and this guy. So nobody feels sorry for you. So if the Giants can win this game, it makes that trip to Seattle much easier. It's a long flight. You have a long week, and you can get healthy for that game. And you go into Seattle going, no, what? If we can beat Dallas, if we get that, that albatross off of us, that big anchor around their neck, hey, we just beat this team. We're on the right direction. Let's go into Seattle, kick their ass too. We can beat anybody at this point.
Yeah.
I think it means a lot this game means a lot to the Giants. Like, it really does. But I think that guys, if we beat Dallas, will start saying, okay, I'm not going to go into Seattle going, we're going to get killed. Like, we'll see. You gain more confidence as a fan, as the team does too. And we saw it in 2022. A confident team can play very well, even if they're not the most talented group of guys. And this team is more talented on paper
much more talented.
So, again, they start to believe in one another. They start to feel confident. We saw Jones in that first half. That's the most confident I've seen him in a long time, man. He was zipping throws in there. He was throwing that ball with conviction. Yeah. And that's why he drives me crazy, because I'm like, Danny, throw it like that every time. Just even if you throw a pick, throw it.
That's the other thing. I completely agree. You look at the throw to Bellinger That was an incredible throw. The touchdown throw to Neighbors, the second one, even the first one, like I said, factoring in that he was getting popped by Garrett, he was decisive. He made good throws. Now, a lot of them were first read throws. I get the criticism still from people that say that he doesn't scan the field, and we all know that's been a weakness of Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
The other thing people criticized was the throw to Neighbors, or half the people criticized was the throw to Neighbors where Neighbors went up and grabbed the ball. I didn't look at it that way. I looked at that as a quarterback that said, I've got the best wide receiver in the league, or damn near the best. I'm going to throw the ball in his direction on a one-on-one, and I'm going to trust that he could come up with the football. So you see that around the league all the time.
What do you think Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown do?
Yeah, so
Jalen Hurts ain't putting that ball in the money. He's throwing the ball near A.J. Brown saying, dude, you make $35 million a year. Go get it.
Yeah.
You're one of the best in the league. Go get it.
Yeah, and that's not to excuse some of the other decisions. The interception with the late hit was an awful throw. The throw when he was in his own end zone, his hand did get hit, but regardless, you can't throw.
Yeah, it was a bad decision. That was a bad
decision. So I'm not saying he was flawless, but I didn't think that was fair criticism when people brought up the throw to Neighbors that saved an interception. That was by design. That was Daniel Jones saying, I got a dog. He's one-on-one. I'm going to throw the ball up, and I'm going to trust that he's either going to catch the ball or he's going to make sure this ball's not
intercepted. That's what you draft him for. That's why you draft him. To give Daniel Jones a guy that can say, hey, I can help out my quarterback.
Yeah.
Because Daniel Jones has not had that guy his entire career. Not once. Nobody close. Nobody close to that level of talent.
Yeah.
So if Daniel Jones gains more confidence in Malik Neighbors, that's a good thing for Daniel Jones and the Giants.
100%. 100%. And then, Joe, going back to your comments, Simmons on the tight end needs to be a Hawk. Yeah, I mean, for sure. The tight end, historically at least, the Cowboys have always murdered us with their tight ends. Going back to Witten, I remember he had a 20-catch game against us, if I'm not mistaken.
Witten was a nightmare.
He killed us. But, yeah, for sure. Maybe Simmons does play a big factor in this game. And maybe Belton's involved, like we talked about earlier. You could see a lot, Phillips obviously out, so they're going to definitely make some alterations to that defense. Nobody listens to Joe. Throw the ball on first down, please. I think you will see the Giants throw the ball on first down. Probably not to start the game, because I think they're going to want to keep the Dallas defense honest. I think they're going to want to force them to commit to stopping the run, to add extra resources if they could start to establish the ground game a bit. But once Dallas creeps up, I do think you'll see them start to open up the passing game on first down, Joe. That's what I expect if Dallas has to
play action pass, especially play action passing. If the Giants are, and see, this is the thing, if the Giants are able to run the ball effectively, that really does open it up for Daniel Jones and the RPO. Because if Dallas has to commit to stopping the run, they have to bring an extra guy up there. They got to start moving linebackers up near the line of scrimmage, and then you're allowing guys like Malik Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson to get behind the defense, and these guys are yak monsters. It could be a really big day for Daniel Jones if he hits these guys. So the Giants definitely match up better with Dallas going into this game than they have since Daniel Jones has been here. Now, can they take advantage of this stuff? Can they actually pull this off? Well, that remains to be seen. But, I feel much better about this matchup than I have in a long time playing against Dallas.
Yeah, 100%. And Vin, man, thank you so much, man. He says, I hate whenever fans say can't tank right. We'll talk about that in a second. Or Neighbors will save DJ's job. I just want to see the team win. Do you guys think there is any validity to those fans saying we'll be worse off if we don't tank? Vin, I'm going to say what I always say. I'm not going to fault fans because at the end of the day, their hearts are in the right place. And it's not that I agree with tanking, but their hearts are in the right place in the sense that they believe that's what's best for the long-term interest of the football team. It's all a difference of opinion. There are other fans that want them to go out there and win every week. I happen to be on that side. The way that I rationalize it, Vin, when you get to that situation, one, I have no control as a fan. And I know that teams don't tank. Teams don't tank. When I go on Twitter and I see fans destroy Tommy DeVito because he went out there and he tried to win football games last year, I laugh at it. Tommy DeVito, you think about it from his perspective. You're a third quarterback. This is probably going to be your only chance ever to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. This is your opportunity to prove yourself, to get a contract, which he was able to do. And able to stick around in the NFL, of course, you're going to go out there and try to win the football game. Brian Dable, fans are criticizing you left and right. Every time you lose a football game, of course, you're going to try to preserve your job to win as many football games as you can. So the way I look at it, Bad Dog, and I've always said this, tanking to me, unless it's like the last week of the season when we saw the oddity with the Philadelphia Eagles, the way they handled that. But when you're talking 5-6 weeks to go in the season, tanking the NFL is not a real thing. It does not really exist because the coaches and the players are going to try to win football games. So for me, I know it's out of my control. I know the coach and the players are trying to win the football game. I'll worry about the draft at the end of the year. Whatever pick we get, we get. Do I understand fans that say, well, I want to lose as many games as we can so we get the first pick? Yeah, it gives you a higher percentage, and you could you'd say, well, we might have been able to draft Jaden Daniels. We might have had that franchise quarterback. I get all that, but that's just the way I look at it, Bad Dog. It's out of my control. I'm going to enjoy one season at a time, and I know the team's not going to tank, and so I'm not going to get bent out of shape if a team wins a game that a portion of the fan base feels they would be better off losing. So that's just the way I look at it.
I don't tell anybody how to fan. You want to root for the Giants to tank because you want a better pick and you want a quarterback. And that's really what you want to tank for. You're not tanking for a wide receiver. You're not tanking for a lineman. You're tanking for a quarterback. The fans that are sick and tired of Daniel Jones and have had enough of Daniel Jones, don't want to ever see Daniel Jones wear blue again. They want to lose. They want Cameron Ward. They wanted Jaden Daniels. They wanted Drake May, Caleb Williams. They want Quinn Ewers. They want Arch Manning. Whoever the hell it is, they want a different quarterback. I'm not going to tell them they're wrong. I'm not going to tell them that's a bad way of thinking. I can't do that in September. Like Chris said, we get to we get to November and we're 2-9 and there's 6 games to go. I'll jump on that. I've never done that before, but I'm like, you know what? It's probably better if they do. Just shit the bed, just shit it all the way and get the damn and just start over.
Yeah.
However, players are not going to go out there and not give 100% effort. They're playing for contracts. If they dog it, they're going to look at other teams. Are going to look at them. I don't want that guy on my team. If that guy's not going to play hard because the team ain't playing well, I don't want that guy. He's not a team player. I don't want that guy. Coaches, when teams fall apart, coaches lose their job. And they don't want to lose their job. They want to keep their job. GMs lose their job. Jobs are on the line. You're not going to tell a player or a coach, go out there and lose on purpose. Go out there and don't give 100% effort. Again, you talked about the Eagles. What the hell happened? What happened? Who got fired?
Doug Peterson got fired as a result.
Who got fired? The one guy in Eagle history that freaking won a Super Bowl. He benched Jalen Hurts at the end of that game. They tanked. They said, you're gone. He lost his job.
I'm going to tell you what, Bad Dog. And this is obviously just speculation on my part. There's no way we will ever know this. I think Peterson did that being directed by the GM and the owner because they wanted to get as high of a draft pick as they could with some kind of assurance that he was probably going to be back as the head coach. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't have agreed to that. He would have tried to win that game to the best of his ability. And then when the media backlash came out the way in which it did, they pointed the finger at him and they let him take the fall. So head coaches are never going to try to intentionally lose football games. It doesn't exist. And if they do, they run the risk of losing their job, as evidenced by the Philadelphia Eagles when they did it. As far as the neighbors will save DJ's job, the way I look at that, Vin, first off, isn't it nice that we finally have a wide receiver that could at least potentially save a quarterback's job? And if Neighbors does save DJ's job, which I'm not saying he will or won't, but if he does, well, that means DJ played really good. And that means the Giants played really good. Right. And at the end of the day, that's all I care about. So that's the way I look at it. Like if the Giants win 11 games or 10 games and Daniel Jones throws 30 touchdowns and a big result of that is Malik Neighbors being on the football team, okay, who gives a shit? You look around the league, look at Josh Allen when he got Stephon Diggs. He took off, and obviously he's now grown as a quarterback.
Look at what happened with Jalen Hurts when he got A.J. Brown.
A.J. Brown, Joe Burrow when he gets it, Jamar Chase. Right. So Tyreek Hill.
Look at Tua when he got Tyreek Hill, right? I mean, look at. Yeah, it's nice to have that guy. Not everybody's Patrick Mahomes. Not everybody can win a Super Bowl with Marquez Valdez, Scantling, Richie James, and Kadarius Toney. There's only one Patrick Mahomes. Not a lot of guys can do that. So, yeah, that's why these receivers went so high in the draft. Do you think Kyler Murray's sitting there going, "Oh man, it really sucks to have Marvin Harrison Jr. on my team. I hate this guy."
And you think Cardinals fans, if Kyler Murray plays really well as a result of it, are going to be like, "Oh, that sucks. He saved Kyler Murray's job." No,
right.
They're going to be happy the quarterback's playing better and the team's winning as a result of it.
Yeah.
Jeremy, what's going on, Jeremy? Thank you very much. He says, I remember we would scream Odell me at recess. Now we got to say leak me. Please make this popular. Leak me. When Malik makes a play, we say you got leaked. That's pretty good. I've been saying Malik the freak, but maybe I'll mix that in, Jeremy. I just go with whatever comes out of my mouth. It's not planned, but maybe that is what I'll say if I could remember it in the heat of the moment. I
never take a lot of leaks on Sunday, so it's perfect.
But Jeremy, thank you very much, man. And listen, Malik Neighbors is, by the way, I got to commend Malik Neighbors off the field as well as on the field. That guy They came out with the NFL films. When you hear it after the fact, when you hear like the conversations on the
Mic'd up
field,
thing. Yeah.
mic'd up. Miles Garrett comes up to him in game after a play, and he goes Malik, and he calls him over, and he, paraphrasing a bit, but essentially what he says is, "You're a damn good player. Keep your head up. You're going to do great things in the NFL." That's essentially what he says. And Malik Neighbors goes, "Thank you, sir." I'm like,
not only that's smart.
Yeah,
that's smart. Miles Garrett, you want to? Yeah, thank you. He is, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, good job. That was very good.
Yeah, and also the way that he handled the Trayvon Diggs thing. I don't know all the specifics to it, but I think there's been some I think even before he became a Giant, or maybe after when he was drafted by the Giants, there's been some like trash talk on social media in the past. So the media leading into the game this week tried to bait him. They tried to bring that up, and Malik Neighbors just like, "I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. I'm good, man. I don't want to talk about it." Well, I'll let the play do the talking on the field. So to me, that shows a lot of maturity for a 20.
What else did he do, Chris? When he dropped the pass, he said, "That's on me. I let my team down. I let the veterans down." It really wasn't on him, but if he catches it, obviously the game may be different, but he's in his second game. He had 10 catches for 127 yards in that game.
Yeah.
And he's the only reason we were in it. And he's like, "That's my fault."
And it's and then
21-year-old kid, he does this. So
and the headsy things he does on the field from within the game. You think back to the drive after we recovered the Burns the forced fumble. He spins out and he goes directly to the sideline because he knows he wants to conserve that last time out. He stops the clock, reaches for the first down. I think there was a play, or it was either last week or the week before, where it was like a 3rd and 3. He reaches above the sideline as he's getting tackled. He knows exactly where he is on the field. The stuffing of the interception that could have been thrown when Daniel Jones got his hand batted when he threw it over the middle of the field.
Yeah.
He just does headsy things on the football field. Yeah. He's really intelligent.
He's on the high IQ football player.
High IQ football player, and he does the right things off the field as well with the way that he's handled the media thus far.
Which is why I think they liked him.
He's been a slam dunk man.
He obviously he's a gamer, and Daboll sees that. And when he says, "Yeah, I want the ball," and Daboll said, "That's what I want you to say. I want you to say I'm going to be aggravated if I don't get the ball." When you watch Hard Knocks, you knew they wanted those 2 LSU guys, and they were thrilled to get Malik Neighbors. It wasn't close. It really wasn't close. They definitely wanted. They obviously were looking at Rome Odunze as a backup in case Neighbors was there.
Well, they won, by the way, this past week. Rome Odunze, he had a good game.
Yeah, he did. Well, listen, you know me. I like Rome Odunze a lot, but I'm very happy he got Malik.
Oh, he's not Malik. He's not Malik.
He's not Malik. No.
Yeah,
I'm very happy they got Malik Neighbors.
Yeah. Dime says, "What is your guys' thoughts on what this team's offense and defense ceiling is for the year? Go Giants, super hype for Thursday." Yeah, I actually think the offensive ceiling is higher than I had going into the year. Now, I'm not telling you top 5 offense. No.
Average.
But the way the offensive line has looked thus far, and I think that last week was a really good test, especially with the way that they ran the offense, as I mentioned earlier, with the 5 wide. Not as much help in terms of blocking for the offensive line, and they still did a decent job. The play calling, I think, has been really good the last 2 weeks in particular. Malik Neighbors looks like a freak. I think they could be a back end. We're talking ceiling. We're not talking expectation. I think they could be on the back end of a top 10 offense. I mean, they were 12th or 13th, I think it was, in 2022. So we're talking ceiling, not expectation. My expectation is probably around league average. Defense, I would say roughly probably a bit higher just because but I worry about the secondary. I think I'm in the same ballpark, Bad Dog. I think both units I'm looking at between back end of the top 10 to right around league average to slightly below league average. I don't think this is a horrible football team. I really don't.
Yep. No, I agree. I think average is their ceiling. The defense could get to around the top 10 just because that pass rush can be really crazy. I mean, I know somebody mentioned this last week, and it's a pretty good nickname, is called Rush Hour, because it's New York. It's that metropolitan area. And I'm acting like from New York City because I'm talking about New York City traffic. Look out. But New York City traffic's insane during rush hour. So rush hour is not bad because it's very busy. It's crazy. It's all over the place. A lot of accidents, a lot of honking, but
too much.
I do think the defense could get to top 12, top 10 if that secondary pans out. If the offense can be average, if we reach a ceiling, if that defense is around top 10 and that average is around offense, the Giants are going to win some damn football games this year. So We'll see. They're
I
trending in
don't
the
think
right
that's out
direction.
of the realm of possibility, Bad Dog. I really
But
don't.
this game is still a massive measuring stick. We're
Massive.
really going to know what the hell we are after tomorrow night.
Massive. Nerf says Drew and Adore out. I don't know. That hurts us. Certainly does. I'm not going to downplay that. Andrew Phillips has been great for the New York Giants thus far. He's actually the highest graded rookie defensive player in the NFL through 3 weeks. So he's been great for the Giants. I'm not going to just say that's a nothing injury. We'll see. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to the pass rush. That's all there is to it. If they can get pressure with their front four consistently, they're going to stand a chance to win this football game. But I'm not going to downplay that. Those guys being out certainly isn't good.
Definitely not. I mean, Cordell Flott was not bad last week, so you're going to see Flott. I don't know if McLeod is playing. He was dinged up a little bit too. I mean, I don't know. We'll see how this goes.
They're missing their second cornerback too, though. Let's not forget. So he's questionable, or doubtful. I think I saw Carson, the second cornerback for the Dallas Cowboys. So, which is even more of a reason why I think Jalen Hyatt
and Trayvon Diggs ain't played well. He's kind of nicked up too. So
Trayvon Diggs, I'm telling you right now, and I don't think they'll do it. If they put Trayvon Diggs one-on-one with Malik Neighbors, he's going to undress him.
I think so.
Trayvon Diggs is not good in coverage. He's a great playmaker. He gets a lot of interceptions, but Malik Neighbors will undress him.
All you got to do is do a double move. You'll like you said, you'll declothe him.
Yeah, but I think he'll have help. I think they're going to double. I'd be stunned if they don't double him.
Which, if they do that, that's like you said, there's where Jalen Hyatt could break out if he plays. Or I keep talking about Wandale. I mean, he is a guy that could definitely have a big game in this one. And, Daniel Jones is going to have to get rid of the ball quickly. I don't think he can sit back there for 5 seconds. Our line's been good, but you don't want Daniel Jones sitting back there for 3-4 seconds.
Yeah.
I think they'll make a concerted effort to get the ball out quick. But I think they have to come out and establish the run. I think that is paramount that they do, because if you, like I said, if you can establish that, it makes play action more effective. It makes Daniel Jones's legs more effective on RPOs. These linebackers are jumping up there. Wandale's going to be wide open. I mean, behind him. And that's when Wandale can really, really work. Or if that cornerback takes a step in and Malik Neighbors is by him, that could end up in a deep player high, whatever it is. Those receivers get behind the secondary, behind the cornerback. If that safety is taking that step up, and so it's too late. Like, that's how fast it happens. You take a misstep, you go a couple steps in, the receiver's behind you, it's over.
Yeah.
But if that happens, Chris, as soon as the wide receiver beats it, Daniel Jones has to let that freaking ball go. He can't hesitate. He's open, like Jane Daniels did.
Yeah.
The guy's open, I'm throwing the ball 15 yards ahead of him. Go get it.
Daniel Jones in this game, if they're going to win, he's going to have to do a better job with the deep ball.
Definitely.
This is a game where you can't have those missed opportunities. If you get an opportunity like he did last week on that one throw, I'm not going to – the Hyatt one, whatever. There was double coverage that even if he threw it, it was going to be a tough play for him to come down with the ball. Yeah. But on the one play to Malik Neighbors, when you had the opportunity where he just blew by the defender, you can't miss that pass this week. You have to hit that pass. And we'll see if Jones gets that opportunity, which I think he's going to, because we're talking about how they're going to you have to use extra resources to stop the run. When he gets that opportunity, Jones has to hit that throw.
Yes, he does.
The Best Savage says to all Giants fans, let's keep it fair. We kill DJ when he plays bad, but give him credit when he plays good. He played damn good the last 2 weeks. Go G-Men 24-20 tomorrow, G-Men. Yeah, Best Savage. At the end of the day, he's getting the job done. The last 2 weeks, he's got 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Has he made a couple of throws that, yeah, of course, every quarterback makes a couple of throws, right? There's a lot of near interceptions in the NFL. The bottom line is he hasn't turned the ball over the last 2 weeks. And he's played well. I mean, he had a great first half. So hopefully, and yeah, obviously Malik Neighbors is helping him, but hopefully he can keep it up, because if he does, we're going to win some football games if he keeps playing at this level. So, he's played. Listen, if you're going to constantly bash Daniel Jones, rightfully so. Last year, he deserved to get destroyed. Like, you could point to other factors, and I think there's legitimate factors why he looked as bad as he did, which was all time bad. The offensive line was a joke after Andrew Thomas got hurt. He didn't have Barkley. I get all that. But regardless, he made some inexcusable throws. He was awful last year. Yeah, he was. Awful. Outside of the second half against the Arizona Cardinals, he was awful week 1 this year. Disgustingly bad. And I understand it was his first game coming off of the ACL injury. But you got to call it how you see it. He was bad. Preseason, it's whatever. It looked really bad in that too. So I got why people were nervous going into the year, especially off of week 1. But if you're going to slam him, you got to give him some credit when he plays well. I'm not going to say he was incredible week 2, he got the job done, like we talked about on the
Yeah,
show.
he wasn't why we lost.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to give you a Christmas bonus based off of your week 2 performance, but hey, I'm going to give you a pat on the back. You did your job. Come into work tomorrow, I'll have a smile on my face.
Right.
This week, he played really well, particularly in the first half.
The first half, he was fantastic. He was
Yeah.
like 17-19 with 2 touchdowns and 200 yards. He was fantastic.
Yeah, against the best defense in the NFL last year.
Yeah, he was fantastic. And yeah,
you gotta yeah, if you're gonna,
I'll definitely hammer him when he plays bad, but I have no problem giving him credit when he plays well.
Yeah.
At all. I didn't read the rest of that thing.
Did I maybe I missed something. I'm sorry. Let me go back.
Yeah, there was just something I wanted to respond to there, and I forgot where
I got it. I'll pull it back up. Sorry about that.
The 24-20. Savage, I agree. If the Giants are going to win, it's going to be around that score. We're not going to beat these guys 34-31.
I'm just curious. I know the spread, I think, is about 5.5 for
Dallas. 4.5. Dallas was 4.5.
And what's the over under?
I'm going to look right now.
Let me guess before you tell me. I'm going to put the over under for tomorrow's game.
I haven't looked yet. I'm going to guess too.
44.5.
Yeah, I was going to be right around there. Savage kind of has it right. I was going to say 44.5. Let's see what it is. It's 45. 45.
So 45. Pretty close.
Cowboys are 5.5 point favorite. They were 4.5.
Yeah, I think it jumped a point when the injury report came out. When they saw that the Giants were missing 2 members of the secondary, I think it went up a point. I read today. So, yeah. But yeah, 5.5. I mean, that's basically the same thing if you're betting 4.5, 5.5. It's, you still need more than a field goal to cover. But yeah, we'll see how it plays out. Irish Rover says, run, Forest, run. If we could establish the run, we could definitely open up that passing game tomorrow. There's no doubt about it. Joseph says, I hate that. We all do. We all do. We all do.
I've been telling Giants fans, listen, we're going to have a lot of support. Eagles fans want us to beat Dallas. Commander fans, everybody wants us to beat Dallas. There's 30 other teams in the NFL saying, come on, Giants. The one team that's not is Dallas. Everybody else wants Dallas to lose. Everybody wins when Dallas loses. So that's what they want.
And Rich says, Dak, you ugly. DJ Pipes K. Snake one is, I think is that disgusting? He meant to say. Yeah. Listen, hopefully DJ gets to pipe whoever he wants. That would mean he's having a good year.
Right.
Joe says, watch John Gruden today. Loves the D-line. I actually meant to watch that. I saw he's got a YouTube channel today. It popped up on my feed today. And he did a breakdown of the Giants game. I will probably watch that before the game tomorrow. I saw that pop up. He says, loves the D-line, worried about injuries to the secondary, loves how DJ is seeing the field. I did see Kurt Warner do a breakdown of that play I talked about earlier with where DJ was getting rocked by Myles Garrett, and he commended Daniel Jones on that play. When you really do watch back the film, he had a great play. That was a great play by DJ. Let's see. LT, big Eagles fan. He says, yes, the bottom of the NFC East Hunger Games. I hate the G-Man. However, I hate Dallas more. I hope you tie. I'm not in it. If not, I'm with the G-Man. Hashtag fly Eagles fly. Yeah, LT, it is what it is, man. We feel the same way about you, man, but we appreciate you for always supporting us and watching the streams. But if you play the Cowboys, I always root for a tie or, whatever it may be. I can't root for either one of you guys to win. So
I'll laugh at whoever loses, regardless. It doesn't matter. But I'm kind of like him. I hate the Cowboys, but I probably hate the Eagles more. But then again, it depends on what helps the Giants. Like if the Eagles beating Dallas helps the Giants, then I'd pull for the Eagles.
Of course.
Yeah. So,
you always have the best interest of your team.
If it doesn't matter, I'd probably pull for the Cowboys over the Eagles.
Which, if we're being honest, it's probably the reason why LT's said if he had to pick one, he's picking us because he thinks a lot of Eagles fans do. The Giants are the biggest
threat with good reason.
Yeah. JC says, my opinion, 60% run with Tracy and Singletary, heavy Wandell, long drives, bracket Lamb, keep Dak on the sideline. He's definitely going to have to be extra attention towards Lamb. Now that opens it up to other players, of course, but Lamb's their guy. He's their neighbors. He's their guy. He's going to be the guy that we have to make sure doesn't destroy us. If they beat us with Brandon Cooks or whoever, so be it. So I agree. I think that's what they will do. They're not going to just let Lamb destroy the defense. Long drives, that'd be great. Last week we had a 94-yard drive, which was by far our best drive of the season. I mean, that's great. You keep the defense fresh, let them close out the game at the end of the game. Of course, easier said than done. Of course, Dallas has a really good pass rush.
Yep.
And Devaney says, "Love you, Bad Dog. Keep tweeting. Double D here."
Thank you, sir. Oh, don't worry. Football season, I'm usually more active on Twitter. Been really busy at work this week, though, man. 3 nights of overtime is just it's insane.
Hey, you told me that last week. You're working overtime now,
Yeah, out of overtime. This is it, though. I don't do it again for a while. I won't do it again till like late fall. So yeah, I just want to get through this week, man. I streamed twice yesterday after working overtime. I streamed twice today. I didn't work overtime today.
You streamed twice today. What did you do before this one?
I did the collab with Law Nation on the Super to talk about the Cowboys and Giants. And then tomorrow, obviously I got to work overtime, and then I'll be coming right home and I'll try to shove something in my face to eat something and get ready to watch the Giants upset the Cowboys.
Now that I know the game's on Amazon, but at least where I am, it's also on Fox. Is it on Fox for you as well, or no? Because I know
I have Amazon, so if it's not, it's fine.
Because I feel like Fox
is usually right with us because Fox is the Giants thing. I
have Amazon too. It's not a problem, but I know like the stream is always like way behind. I know.
Yeah, it's not on Fox for me.
Okay, so we'll have to do it on Amazon. That's all.
It is not on Fox for me.
So
that's weird. Usually it's CBS that I have the issue with, where they're not on because the Jets or whatever. That's a Jets channel or the Bills channel, whatever the hell you want to call it. Yeah, it's weird. But yeah, I'll have it on Prime.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Big Moose says, thoughts on Neighbors seeing double coverage and open up the game for Wan'Dale and Hyatt. Yeah, we kind of talked about that earlier. I think that's going to be a thing. I think they're going to double cover him, and that's why I've predicted I think Hyatt's going to have his best game of the year thus far, which is not saying much, but I think he's going to be more involved this week. This could be a season-changing game with a decisive victory, one man's opinion. I think that's multiple men's opinion. I don't think you're alone on that, Big Moo. I think a lot of Giants fans are going to feel a lot different about this team if you have 2 straight. You could really look at it. If they end up winning this game, you say to yourself, you beat Cleveland on the road. You should have beat Washington if you had a kicker, and now you beat the Cowboys. We should be 3-1, and we've beaten 2 teams who were thought to be really good teams headed into the season. So yeah, I think a lot of Giants fans would feel much differently about this team than they did early on. Big Move if they were able to pull out a win tomorrow. It's a massive game.
It's huge just because you haven't beat this team in forever. And I think, like I said, I think it'll go a long way for their confidence. And confidence goes a long way in anything you do. You're always going to do it better when you're more confident. And the Giants could use some confidence. We saw how far it took them in 2022. They certainly overachieved. They didn't have the greatest regular season record, but still they won a road playoff game. It's hard to do that. You look at how good Dallas has been since Dak has got there. Dak has 2 playoff wins. Daniel Jones has 1. I mean, it just goes to show you it's not easy to win playoff games. So, yeah, this is a big this can really move the meter for the Giants.
Yeah, sure. And Marcus says last year 40-0 we gave up after the Barkley pick 6. I'm so tired of laying down for Dallas. Crack them with a brick and end their season tomorrow. Yeah.
That's true. I forgot about Barkley dropping that one right into the defender's hands for the touchdown.
Yeah, and then of
course, did a lot.
Of course, the blocked field goal for the touchdown. It was a disaster. Disaster that game. But I'm with you. I don't know if it would end Dallas' season, but it would certainly hurt them in a big way. KN says Cowgirls will be ready for the D-line. The game will be on our secondary. If we could run the ball, we could minimize exposure. I mean, I'm sure of course they're going to, I don't expect us to dominate their offensive line. I don't think that's going to happen, but I do think our defensive line will have more success than we've had, which is basically none in recent years against that Dallas. But yeah, I'm not expecting this to be a dominant performance by the D-line. I still respect the Dallas Cowboys offensive line and Dak. I don't think we'll dominate them. But I also think we can't be overly aggressive because then that leaves the secondary out to dry, KN. So you got to pick and choose your battles if you're Bowen. You got to be smart.
Bowen's not going to blitz the way he did the last 2 weeks. I can't see it happening.
It will not happen. Yeah. I expect a lot of bend, but don't break.
Expect a lot of him saying you can drive the ball. We're not going to let you score 7. You'll kick a field goal. But yeah, I don't expect a lot of gamble from Bowen tomorrow. Could be wrong.
Yeah.
But Dak's pretty good against the blitz, so I can see the Giants making him throw into a zone and instead of just stopping the run. If you can stop the run and Dak's 3rd and 9, you just let him complete underneath and you tackle. You get off the field.
Yeah. WJ says if we can't beat the Cowboys now, we're never going to beat them. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think eventually we'll beat them, but this is definitely one of the better opportunities I feel we've had in a while, outside of like when Dak was hurt. But when the Cowboys were at full strength, yeah, I think this is one of the weaker Cowboy teams in recent memory. We'll see if we could do it. This game is on Dable, DJ, and the defense. Pass rush needs to do their job. No pass. Hey, I think we got a shot. We're not favored for a reason. I think
Right.
Dallas is a 5.5-point favorite. So I'm not going to go in saying, we need, we're supposed to win this game. No, I don't feel that way. But I do think it's a game we should not get run over. I do think it's a game where we should be able to compete and give ourselves a chance to win. And if we play smart, I think we'll have an opportunity to win. So we'll see what happens in less than 24 hours. I'm looking forward to calling the game.
Without question, this is the best. I think they match up the best for the Cowboys right now than they have in years. I honestly do. So again, this comes down to the line of scrimmage, but Dallas has blown us. They have blown us away on the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. I don't think that happens tomorrow. I think it's more even on the line of scrimmage. And, if we can get the best of them up there, especially running the football, we have a really good chance. If we can run the football, we got a great chance to win. If we can't run the football, we're in trouble. Singletary is going to have to run the ball. Giants going to have to. The Giants, if they can't run the ball like in the first quarter, Chris, they can't just give up on it. Like we've seen that with this team. Like last year when we lost 40-0, they went down 7-0 and immediately abandoned the run. It can happen. You have to run the ball until they don't do like the Saints did. Like I don't know what the hell the Saints never abandoned the run. Eagles are putting 7 and 8 guys in the box, and the Saints are like, we're going to run the ball. They should have just abandoned that. But you can't be like, the first 6 carries, Singletary's got 11 yards. We're abandoning the run. Can't do that.
I think we're going to be able to run. I really do. And the only way they'll stop us, I think, is if they commit 8 guys in the box. And if you do that, that's going to open up passing opportunities. So
yeah, big passing opportunities.
If they don't stuff the line, I think the Giants are going to actually be able to run. I mean, why wouldn't I feel that way? They have the worst run defense in the NFL through 2 weeks. Why wouldn't I feel the Giants? And the Giants haven't really utilized Jones's legs yet either. Something that they could certainly do tomorrow. So if Dallas doesn't overcommit to stopping the run, which would then lend itself to big play opportunities in the passing game, I think the Giants are going to be able to run the ball on them. But we'll find out tomorrow, man. We will find out tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Angel says, get out with a win or healthy. Cowboys lost 2 in a row. They will be playing dirty, which means if we want to win, we have to play dirty too, which causes injury. Win. I mean, obviously, I'm not hoping anybody gets hurt, of course, but win. Football is a game where injuries occur. It happens. It happens every week. Unfortunately, it's a physical sport. And things like that happen. But yeah, win. Always win, Baddog.
Just win, baby.
Every game means so much in the NFL. It's not like baseball where you're like, oh yeah, we'll get them tomorrow. We'll split the series. No, win. So yeah, this is a pivotal game.
Agreed.
Speaking of that, did you see how they rescheduled the Mets game against the Braves now?
No, did it get rained out today?
So there's a hurricane in Atlanta.
It's in Atlanta.
Yeah, so they suspended today's game and tomorrow's game because they're anticipating that the hurricane's going to be bad.
Yeah, so
they're now going to play the Brewers Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then a double header against the Braves on Monday for their last 2 games.
Wow.
It's basically a playoff game, right? So unless Arizona falls apart, and then they could have it sewn up by them. But yeah, crazy, right? Double header to decide the season on Monday.
That is pretty crazy. It is pretty crazy.
Big Moose says, do I dare ask my guys for a score prediction? I am going to – all right, I'll go. I picked the Giants to win last week, Baddog. I said 19-16, and it was pretty close to that. What was it, 21-15?
21-15, yep.
So I was 2 points off for the Giants and 1 point off for the Browns. I said 19-16. Almost got the total points right. It was 35. It was, I guess, they had 36 in the game. I am going to go – you know what? If I'm saying, I don't care, Baddog. It is what it is. If I'm saying I think the Giants can keep this game close, I feel very similar to the way I felt going into that Cleveland game. Because we've had no success against the Dallas Cowboys, I can't. I almost don't want to pick the Giants, but I'm going to ride the wave. I'm going to ride the wave. I'm going to have fun as a fan. I think it's a game that we certainly can win, and I feel very similar to the way I felt going into the Cleveland Browns game. I'm picking the Giants. I'm picking the Giants to get a win. I am going to go 23-20 Giants win by a field goal tomorrow night. 23-20.
I like it. I like it a lot. I'm just looking at the rushing yards. In the last 2 weeks, the Giants have run for 129 and 112 yards on the ground. They have two rushing. I'm sorry, they not rushing touchdowns. Yeah, 100. They've rushed for 241 yards on the ground. I don't know why this doesn't show the touchdowns, but what's Singletary? Singletary's averaging 4.7 yards a carry. He's got 2 touchdowns. Man, Dallas just, I picked the Washington Commanders to beat the Giants earlier in the year. I picked this about the same thing. I told WTB 1916, 2016, because it had to happen, right? It just had to happen at some point, although I was always confident beating Washington, always. At some point, the law of averages gets you. I can't believe I'm talking myself into this right now. Dallas is coming off. It's a short week. They are really, really struggled. They are down. The Giants, I feel like, have gotten better every week. And I feel like Brian Daboll's really finding his play calling. He's in that zen. He plays such a perfect mix in that first half. I feel like Daniel Jones isn't being asked to do too much, but what they're asking him to do, he's been effective the last couple of weeks. Malik Neighbors is a beast. Singletary has been very effective. Our pass rush, we haven't been able to get to Dak, but I feel like we can get to Dak with 4 guys. I do. I feel like, especially with Dexter Lawrence, the middle of that line stinks for Dallas. Those guys are rookies. Dexter could take advantage of that. They might have to double team him, which could leave him like a McFadden wide open. If they do want to bring an extra guy, maybe not 2 extra guys. Yeah. I'm doing it. I didn't say this earlier today, but I'm talking to you. Maybe it's because I'm talking to a Cowboys fan. I'm listening to all the things the Cowboys do well. I'm talking to you. We're not talking about anything the Cowboys do well. We're talking about everything they do bad. Yeah. Screw it. 26-23. G-Men.
Wow.
Let's go.
So we both got the Giants by a field goal.
I don't know why I'm doing it to myself, Chris. So here we go. We're getting our hopes up, and the Giants say, "Oh no, you don't."
The only thing I'll say with our predictions, after I said the prediction, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have said that because of the field goal kicker. For them to score 23, it means they're going to have to kick 3 field goals. For them to score 26, they're going to have to kick 4 field goals. Which is, I'm not saying it's impossible, but they would have to be short field goals more than likely. I don't think we're going to be attempted 55 yarders, but I don't know. I just get them. I think it's going to be close. Like, obviously, I won't be surprised at all if we lose. I don't think we're getting blown out. I think it's going to be.
I think with the Giants, it's going to be 2 field goals and he misses an extra point. That could certainly happen.
Okay. That's where
that could certainly happen too. It could be 4 touchdowns. You can miss 2 extra points.
Yeah.
That could happen. That's what's going to happen. That's how I get my 26. Touchdown Malik Neighbors, touchdown Wandale, touchdown rushing Daniel Jones, touchdown rushing Devin Singletary.
There we go.
There you go.
WJ
misses 2 extra points because he's caca.
WJ says, is it just me or every time we play Philly or Dallas, we play our worst bowl? I'm talking offense, defense, and special teams. We do, but I don't think it's a coincidence. I don't think it's like when we play the Cowboys and Eagles, we just wake up and we're like, oh, yeah, we're just going to play our F game today. No, I think in recent history, the reason why we play our worst when we play those teams is because we get dominated up at the point of attack, like dominated. Whenever we play the Cowboys, they kill us. Their offensive line destroys our pass rush, and their pass rush destroys our offensive line. And if that happens tomorrow, we're going to get killed.
Yep.
I'm just of the belief that I'm not saying we're going to dominate theirs, but I'm of the belief it will be more evenly matched this time around than it's been in the past.
We can win the line of scrimmage. We won't dominate it, but this time I feel like we can win that line of scrimmage. And if we do that, we are going to win the game.
Baddog, I'm pumped up, man.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell I'm doing it to myself for. I don't know why. I don't know why. I keep telling myself, yeah, we're not beating Dallas. Never beating Dallas. Dallas kicks our ass. I'm not going to pick the Giants. So I see us beat and here I go. Yay! Let me take the Giants. Oh, what do you know? Prove me right this time, please.
MetLife Stadium says, I usually have hope for us after a W, but Dallas always kills us even after they come off a bad week. Listen, my brain, MetLife, is telling me don't pick the Giants against the Cowboys until they prove it. And if I'm being completely honest and I was a betting man, I think I'd pick the Giants to cover, but I think I'd pick Dallas to win. I think it's going to be a close game.
I do too.
But in my head, I'm like, I'm a fan at the end of the day. I'm here to have fun. If I think the Giants could keep this to within 3 or 4 points, it means I think they could win by 3 or 4 points. So screw it. I'm going to pick them to win. I think they can win because I felt very similar last week. I was like, I think they're going to keep it within 3 or 4. Browns probably should win. They're at home, but I think we could win. I have similar vibes this week. So I'm riding it, man. I got the coat on. I picked them to win last week. It worked. I think the game is going to be close enough where the Giants certainly have a realistic chance to win. So I'm picking them. I'm taking the Giants by a field goal.
Yeah. I remember Odell Beckham at his coming out party, although we lost the game, but he had his coming out party against Dallas in prime time. I think Malik Neighbors on the spotlight. I think he's gonna, Jaden Daniels did it. I think Malik Neighbors is gonna put a stamp on the NFL in this one.
Yeah, we'll see. If Malik Neighbors goes off tomorrow, because I think Dallas is gonna double cover him. If he goes off tomorrow, on the main stage, prime time, he's gonna take off. He's gonna take off.
Yeah.
Hexter says only way the Giants beat the Cowboys is if their defense plays like crap again. Other than that, no other way. Or their offense plays like crap. What if our pass rush gets pressure and Dak turns the ball over a few times?
Dak's not adverse to throwing interceptions. I mean, Dak throws picks, so
But I mean, but I agree. That's the key to the game is just being able to establish the run because that'll open up everything else on the offensive end, at least.
Yeah.
Blue Collar says if the Giants beat Dallas, does Jerry World return and McCarthy gone? Well, Jerry,
not after this game, but I could see it happening if they continue to slide. I could see him not making it through the year, but I don't think they fire him if they lose this game. I don't think that happens.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I agree. I don't think he'd be fired within season. The one thing I'll say about Jerry Jones, he is to a fault, very patient with his head coaches. He gave Jason Garrett 8 years. So
true.
I don't think at the end of the year, I think McCarthy will be gone if the Cowboys miss the playoffs. And if they lose this game, you have to think it's at least more likely than not that they will. So I would tell you by year's end, I think they'd fire McCarthy. But I'd be very surprised unless it just ballooned into this 1-7 start or something, maybe then. But I don't think they'd fire him in season. But yeah, if they missed the playoffs this year, I would expect them to replace McCarthy. But hey, if Jason Garrett survived 8 years and there were some years where he missed the playoffs, I guess anything's possible.
Yep.
Samuel says, this happens to me every year, weeks before the Giants-Cowboys game. I'm like, there's no way. But the closer we get, I'm like, why the hell not? F it. Which, by the way.
That's what I just did, Samuel. That's exactly what I just did to myself. That's exactly what I just did.
That's the slogan of the team this year, Bad Dog. That's what they're all saying. They're all saying, F it, F it, F it. As a fan, I'm like, F it. Nobody's giving us a chance.
You and I, we're like, if it. Yeah,
if it. Why not us, G-Man W? Samuel, I'm with you, man. I'm picking us, man. I'm going to ride the wave. Man. Alex says, if you guys were to rank the importance-wise, how would you rank Dex, Thomas, and Neighbors? All right, so we're not talking about as a player, in terms of talent, who's most important.
Andrew Thomas.
Yeah, number one is Andrew Thomas. And all you have to do is look at last year. When he went down, the Giants went from a bad offensive line to literally the worst, if not the worst, one of the worst offensive lines in league history.
I'll be right back. Potty time.
Yeah, potty time for Bad Dog. So that's only one if you're counting. But they literally went from a bad line to one of the worst of all time. And he plays this, in my opinion, at least the second most important position, which is, of course, the blindside protector for the quarterback. So if we're just talking importance, yeah. Give me Andrew Thomas is the most important player out of those three because he's the guy that's going to hopefully prevent Micah Parsons from ripping Daniel Jones's head off. After that, as much as I love Neighbors, and I do think Neighbors is so important to this team. We don't win last week without him, obviously. I think I have to go Dex too. Like Dex is a guy that could wreck a game by himself, and he's not always the guy that gets the stats, but he's the guy that could fold up the pocket and force the quarterback out of the pocket. He has become an all-pro player at a very important position. Not to discount an elite wide receiver. It's neck and neck there. I mean, Neighbors certainly you could make an argument. I'm not, if somebody told me they thought Neighbors was more important, I wouldn't argue with them. That's their opinion, but for me, I'd still go Thomas, Dex, Neighbors. I'm still a firm believer, and there goes my I don't know why it does that, but I'm still a firm believer that games are won and lost in the trenches. Having a guy like Neighbors helps the trenches because it makes the offense less predictable. And he's a playmaker, and he could win games by himself, as demonstrated last week. But not that it was by himself, but he had a great game. But yeah, for me, Bad Dog, I go Thomas, Dex, Neighbors. What about you?
Agreed. And just because of the last point you made, not that Neighbors is not incredibly important. It's obviously is. We scored 6 touchdowns in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Neighbors has half. He's obviously extremely important.
Yeah.
But what you just said, the line of scrimmage, the trend, this is still won and lost there. If we don't have Dexter Lawrence, like you mentioned, clogging up the middle, and taking on double teams and forcing the quarterback out. I mean, this helps guys like Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau because the quarterback's going to run into one of those guys. And when Dex is getting pressure up the middle, it's very hard for a quarterback to step into a throw and the guy's right down your neck. So he's a headache, Dexter Lawrence. And yeah, Andrew Thomas protecting your quarterback. The blindside protection of a quarterback is like probably the second most important position on the team outside of the quarterback.
Yeah.
You need that guy. Like Chris said, our line was terrible last year. When we lost him, forget about it. They had no chance.
Yeah.
And they tried a bunch of people left tackle, and it wasn't working. So,
but I could certainly see arguments at least for having.
Oh, of course, I do not disagree at all.
Like you look at a team like the Chiefs, for example. When Tyreek Hill played there, it would be a good debate. Who's more important, Chris Jones or Tyreek Hill? It's a similar thing here. So I could certainly see the argument, but for me, just because I'm always going to be a trench guy. That's where I think games are won and lost. That would be my order. But Malik Neighbors don't get it twisted. He is incredibly important. He fills out this wide receiving core. All of a sudden, the Giants go from one of the league's worst to at least middle of the pack just with his presence on the roster. And he changed this entire offense. So he's beyond important. He's one of the 5 or 6 most important players on the team. There's no doubt about it. But you just so happen to mention who I feel are the second and third most important player on the team behind, of course, the quarterback. So I'd probably say Neighbors is 4th. So I think those are our 4 most important players. So let it be written. Let it be done, Big Moose says. There's the prediction. We'll see if we're right tomorrow.
Yep.
Fabian says, did you guys feel this way for the undefeated Super Bowl? Do you mean going into the game against the undefeated Patriots? That's all I could imagine you're asking. No, I did not. I'm not gonna lie. I obviously wasn't on YouTube back then, but I didn't think we'd get embarrassed per se. But no, I'm gonna be honest. Even as well as we played, and I know you're gonna answer differently because I think you bet the Giants.
I did bet the game.
But even as well as we played when we played the Patriots the first time around in the regular season, a game that we easily could have won. We ended up losing 38-35, was nearly handed them their only regular season loss that year. And as well as we played in the playoffs, of course, the Packers game, the Cowboys game, I did not go into that game confident that we were going to win. New England that year is the greatest regular season team in the history of the NFL. They were a runaway freight train. They blew out everybody. It almost felt like a win in the regular season when we beat them because we were one of like 2 or 3 teams. I remember that year, I think the Ravens, it was like a Monday night game or it was a primetime game, whatever it was. They almost beat them. And it was actually a down year for the Ravens, if I remember. I think they were kind of like a middle of the pack team that year, but they almost upset them, I think, on primetime. But outside of that, there might have been one other game where it was close outside of the Giant game. So it almost felt like a win when we lost to them as closely as we did the last regular season game. So going into that game, I mean, of course, I was rooting for the team. There's always a chance. You know, you never say there's no chance at all. But no, I did not think we were going to win that Super Bowl. I'd be lying if I said otherwise.
I did. It's funny. I think I had more confidence going into that game than I did the Packers game. The Packers game is the one I thought we were going to beat Tampa, definitely. I thought we were going to beat Dallas. The Green Bay game, I didn't have. I've told a story before. All week I felt like we were going to lose. and we went to Connecticut, meet some of my wife's friends. That we stayed in Kingston because it was like halfway home. I remember waking up that morning in the hotel, and I forgot who the girl was on ESPN at the time. It wasn't Melissa Stark. I forget. They're talking about the weather, and I just remember looking at my wife going, the Giants are gonna win today. And I went out and I didn't have any Eli Manning jersey, and I bought one that day. And they ended up winning. And then when they played the Patriots, I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'm putting $100 in the money line. It was 1,100 to 1. Or not 11. I'm sorry. It's 110. It was 110 to 1. So I won $1,110 on the.
That's what the money line was.
It was plus 1,100.
You got 11 to 1 odds on the Giants straight up to win.
Yeah, because they were a 14-point dog. So it was like plus 1,100. Yeah, it's the most I've ever won in a football game. I won $1,100. I put $100. I feel like they're going to. And to be honest, it really. I mean, obviously, that's beautiful. $1,100. It's icing on the cake. But I forgot that I'd even bet it because I was so beside myself when because they hadn't won in 17 years and nobody picked them to win. And as they're driving down the field, as Tyree's making that catch, I'm like holding my breath. Like you're living on every play. You're on your knees. You're walking around. You're biting your fingers off the bone.
Oh, it was awful, man.
And then they get to 3rd and 11, and you're like, oh, 3rd and 11.
I'll say this about that game, though, Baddog. I went into it kind of carefree. I'm like, we got to the Super Bowl, great season.
I wanted to win.
Obviously, I want to win. Obviously, but I went into it being like, if we lose and it's competitive, I could be happy with that season. Like, I didn't have the same perspective I think Patriot fans have, where they were like, "You better win. We're 18-0. We're supposed to
right. Yeah,
we're supposed to clobber this team." But what I'll say is this: when I got to watch the first 10 minutes of that game, and I saw that first drive for the New York Giants, even though they didn't score a touchdown, they chewed up 10 minutes, which is such an overlooked part of that game. That first drive for the New York Giants, they almost took a complete quarter out of gameplay. Tom Brady only stepped on the field for 3/4 of that game because the first drive consumed 10 minutes and the Giants kicked the field goal. And when they did that, I said, we can win this game. Once I saw them able to control the clock, eat up the clock, because that's how you beat an elite offense. That's how you beat an elite quarterback. You keep him off the field. And when I saw them do that there in that first drive, I said, well, we're probably going to win the time of possession at this point. And yeah, we stand a chance with our pass rush to win this game. So going in, no, I was not confident. But after that first drive, when I had a chance to see that, I was like, this game's going to be a dogfight. We got a real.
As far as that drive goes, it's funny because it was such a great drive. I remember being so disappointed they only got 3, and then I think the Patriots got the ball, went right down, and scored a touchdown.
Yeah,
and I'm like, shit. I'm like, we can't. I'm like, we just put in all that work to get 3, and they just went right down and scored. But as that game progressed, you saw Justin Tuck, you saw Michael, you saw Kavika Mitchell, you saw these guys getting to Brady and knocking his ass around, and Brady didn't know where it was coming from. Like, they could not figure that out. Spagnuolo was fantastic.
Spagnuolo, by the way. Spagnuolo.
He's a Hall of Famer.
We talk about Coughlin, as we should. I freaking love Tom Coughlin.
Spagnuolo's a Hall of Famer.
Hall of Fame. Spagnuolo better be right behind him.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Spagnuolo is the greatest defensive coordinator, arguably, in the history of the NFL. Like, he's up there. He's got the credentials.
Belichick is still my guy.
I agree, but look at what this guy's
done.
But
to be fair, Belichick had Taylor, Banks.
Yeah, look what Spagnuolo did.
I mean, we don't have a Hall of Famer. Well, Chris Jones is pretty damn good.
He completely shut down the undefeated Patriots in the Super Bowl. The performance he did with the Chiefs defense the last couple of years, that defense carried that Chiefs team last year. That offense was not great.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I know that's far-fetched. I get Belichick. There's Buddy Ryan. Like, there's some incredible.
Yeah, screw him.
But there's some incredible defensive coordinator. But
Buddy Ryan didn't win no damn Super Bowl.
Spagnuolo deserves a lot.
Yes, he did. He won with the 85 Bears. The hell am I talking about? He didn't win the Super Bowl with the Eagles.
Spagnuolo's a Hall of Famer. And Diaco says, thank you both for being reasonable, man. Absolutely, man. We appreciate you. Thank you for being here. We try to be reasonable. Hexter says, remember when the Giants talked mad shit last year, then when I lost 40-0 to Dallas? Hope it's the same with the Dallas team that's bad this year.
Well,
I don't necessarily think you guys are bad. I just don't think you're playing your best football right now.
Yeah, and I don't see 40-0.
No, and maybe it will happen, but I'm not going to go and guaranteeing victories or anything. But yeah, I think it's going to be a competitive game tomorrow. It might not be. I felt that last year and we got smoked. So
yeah, again, I don't think you're bad. I just think you're playing bad. I think the Giants are getting you at a good time right now. It's early in the year. CeeDee Lamb held out. There's not a lot of. They're trying to build their chemistry again. Their timing's been a little off. Dak hasn't been good, and it's a short week. So I feel like even though Dallas usually has a get right game against the Giants, we're catching them at a good time. If you guys played Thursday last week and you had like those extra 3 days, I think I'd be a little bit more concerned. Not that I'm not concerned. I mean, it's Dallas. We don't play well against Dallas, but I'm more confident just watching the two teams play, and I think they're trending in opposite directions. There's a lot of pressure on Dallas, and again, nobody's picking the Giants to win, so I feel like they can just go in carefree and, like you said, F.
Now, what I'll say about the Cowboys, I'm going to be completely honest. If I was a Cowboys fan, I would view this game as a get-right game.
Correct.
I would view this game as we've come out rocky. We haven't been clicking. This is a team we usually destroy. We have their number. This is going to be the game that gets us back on track. We build some confidence. So, of course, I'd be confident if I was a Cowboys fan. But it's how I feel, man. I think it's going to be a close game. And I think we're going to have a puncher's chance. And if the Cowboys give the Giants an opportunity to win this game, I think we're going to stand a good chance to win it. So you better put your foot on the gas early. Otherwise, I think this game's going to come down to the last 5 minutes.
One thing I'm going to say is our offensive line was complete dog water.
Awful last year.
This year, good. It's average.
Way better.
And you can't stop the run. And we have a wide receiver that can torch you guys. We haven't had a wide receiver that can torch you guys for years, not since Beckham, who Beckham did torch you guys. I mean, in 2016, we beat you twice because Odell Beckham was God that year.
And Jack Rabbit was great. And
our defense
was great.
Yeah, we had a really good defense that year too.
Yeah.
And this defense is pretty good. Again, it's about average, but they've played better the last couple of weeks. Outside of Watt, they gave up a lot of rushing yards against Washington. But again, we didn't have a dynamic receiver like a Malik Neighbors. There was no threat there. You can stuff the box and stop Saquon Barkley. I mean, you could do that, especially against a bad offensive line. You can't stuff the box and take away Malik Neighbors. If you want to double team him, there's other Giants that can do things in the wide receiving game. There is a Darius Slayton. There is a Wan'Dale Robinson, who, again, I just think is very underrated. Wan'Dale got a very big game in here. And don't forget about guys like Theo Johnson and Daniel Bellinger. Don't forget about guys like Tyrone Tracy that can line up wide. Don't forget about the screen game that the Giants all of a sudden seem to be getting better. Why? Because their offensive line is better. With that aggressive defense that Dallas runs, the Giants may be able to have massive success on these screen passes.
And this isn't Dan Quinn as the DC now. And the other thing I'll say, Bad Dog, is we went up against a really good defense last week. So I think it's completely reasonable as a Giant fan to feel maybe not that you're going to win this game, but to go in like cautiously optimistic that this is going to be much more competitive than it's been in the past. We didn't go up against some like dog shit defense last week. We went up against the league's best last year in the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
And the offense looked great in the first half. So, yeah, I think this game will be more competitive than it's been in the past.
Yeah.
Mustard Bus says, "What's up, my guys? What's going on, man? Good to see you, Mustard Bus."
Our guy, Mustard Bus.
Talk about an OG. He says, "I've missed you."
That is an OG right there.
Yeah, he says, "I missed you both." Andy Dalton MVP. Off last week. I mean, what do you have? Like 300 plus yards, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a stunner last week, man? How about you guys? Now, I don't know what the hell you guys are going to do with your quarterback, but at least you guys got some fun for a week there.
Right. Mustard Bus, I'll never forget Mustard Bus. They always made everything with Slim Jims. I remember, that's the funny because I'm actually a little bit under the weather now. I remember them sending me a shit ton of Slim Jims, and it cured my cold. Like it knocked all the sinus congestion out, and it was good. And my kid, who might have been a year old at the time, was now 7. He liked the Slim Jims. I remember that. I remember them sending me that. And a 6-pack of beer. I don't remember what the hell the beer was, but I do remember it was from North Carolina. I never forget my guy's Mustard Bus.
Dominic, thank you so much. He says, "Love the mindset. F it. Every week we go into the games head down and doubtful, rightfully so. Let's have a good time and try to." Yeah, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, Dominic, we wait way too long for football season. If the team gives me a reason to be excited, I'm going to get excited. If they rip my heart out, they rip my heart out. That's just the way I operate.
We're used to it, right?
Yeah.
We're used to it.
And Daniel, stand up. New member. Welcome to the squad, man. I appreciate it, buddy. And let's get Hexter again. He says, if Dallas loses again, it confirms they are not a good team. Something is keeping Dallas from stopping the run, and they can't figure it out. Well, that's if you're a Dallas fan, that's
the coordinator.
Yeah, but if you're a Dallas fan, that's the key to this game. Much like it was the key for us last week. Going into last week, the Giants' run defense was just as bad as yours. I mean, the first 2 weeks, we were awful against the run. They ran all over us. And last week, the Giants figured it out. We did a really good job limiting Cleveland on the ground. Their running back only had like 37 yards. We did a really good job there. So, yeah, that's got to be your focal point if you're a Cowboys fan. Right now, you're dead last in the league. You got to get better there if you expect to compete. Big Moo says, last week kind of gave me the same feeling when we beat Washington in week 3 of the Super Bowl year. Relax. Now, that was a fun game. I remember that was the goal line stand, right? At the end of the game in 2007, we were 0-2, and we came up with a 4th down stand, I think, at the end of the game. And then the Giants went on to win after that, they won 9 out of the next 13 or so. And then they went on the Super Bowl. They obviously went on to win the Super Bowl. Relax. 1 week at a time, Big Moo.
Yeah.
And Silver Strike says, are you really a Giants fan? I don't know. I'm not sure, Silver Strike. I'm not sure. Am I really a Giants fan? I think I might be a Cowboys fan.
I don't know. What's football? Is that the thing you kick around with the black and white ball?
Is that a star on my wall?
I don't know.
Is that a bird? I'm not sure, Silver Strike. I'll have to get back to you on that.
Yeah, I don't know I don't even know what we're talking about right now. I'm lost.
I'll have to get back to you on that, man. But I'll let you know.
I think I'm a Toronto Argonauts fan.
Yeah, I'll have to get back to you on that, buddy. Didn't pick the Giants to win the Super Bowl. That's why I ask. Yeah, well, I'm being honest. You could be somewhat objective, and it was not like Silver Strike in 2000. I picked us to beat the Ravens, and we lost. And the Ravens were the better football team, but that was like a rare occurrence. Silver Strike. They went up against the team who literally did not lose a game the entire year and was the greatest team in the history of the NFL in the regular season. Like, I think it's reasonable to go into that game being hopeful as a fan and somewhat optimistic that it could be competitive, but say we probably aren't going to win the game. I think a lot of Giants fans were like that going into that game.
Real fan. Dude, listen, I hate that shit. Oh, you picked the other team, you're not a real fan. Fuck that. You can't go out. I would pick the Giants to win every game. Are they going to be undefeated every year? Nobody's finished the season undefeated except for the 72 Dolphins.
See that?
It's just such a stupid thing to say.
So Silver Strike. So your definition of a fan is somebody that goes into every week and picks their team to win no matter what. To me, that's silly. And you, I mean, I'm not going to knock you, fan the way you want to fan. But if you think you're going to go 17-0 every week and you're not going to look at the opponent and say, oh, we're probably outclassed this week, this is going to be a tough game to win. Yeah, I'm sorry that I thought the 18-0 Patriots were a better team than we were that year. And if I'm being honest, and Baddog, you'd probably agree with me on this. If we played the Patriots 100 times that year, we might have won 15.
I agree with that.
They were a much better team than we were. And just being honest, it doesn't mean that I don't love my team and hoping they win. Ridiculous. Every game isn't the Super Bowl. Okay. Doesn't mean I wasn't rooting my ass off for them.
Right.
Mustard says, Tana, I know this is mostly football, but how you feeling about your Mets against my Braves? Doubleheader Monday. Mustard Bus, I am hoping that the doubleheader doesn't mean anything. I'm hoping that the doubleheader, because if Arizona tanks, I don't know how they did tonight. I know they were playing tonight, so against the Giants. So hopefully they lost, but
they're probably still playing. That probably is at 10 or 9 o'clock.
Probably 9 or 10.
Arizona's up 5-1 in the bottom of the 5th.
So we're not getting lucky there tonight. So they'll be tied with us after tonight because I think we had a half game lead on them, but we have the tiebreaker against them. So I'm going to be honest with you, Mustard Bus. I'm hoping that doesn't mean anything because the Braves historically, I mean, all you got to do is go back to 2022. We had the division locked up. You guys swept us at the end of the year. We ended up getting the wild card. 90, I think it was 99, 2000. You guys killed us in late in the season. So you've had our number historically. So I'm not ultra confident, especially with the way that it looked in the first game of the series. So Yeah, everything's on the line. Hopefully the Mets can find a way to get a win. Guido says, off topic, but the Yankees again refuse to clinch the division. Is it okay to hate Stroman? Bad dog.
Stroman sucks, bro.
Also, the Giants are going to win because the Giants rule and the Cowboys drool.
Facts.
There you go. Well, that would be the logic of that guy that said that I'm not a Giants fan. But yeah,
I'll never again. I don't tell people how to fan, but how are you going to tell somebody you're not a fan because you don't believe they're going to beat the 18-0 Patriots?
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense.
If you put
so they make the Super Bowl, you think they're supposed to win every Super Bowl they're in?
If you put 100 Giants fans on lie detectors before that game and they had to tell the absolute truth, which is what I'm doing, 90 of them would have said that the Giants are not going to win the game.
I was one of the 10 that did.
Let's be honest.
I truly believe they were going to win that game.
Yeah, but it wasn't
crazy.
It
was a special run. I just think like I don't know what it was. I had a feeling. Like I said, I had a feeling they were winning all these games. Green Bay was the one where I was not sure. And then I remember Brandon Jacobs, the first one where he killed Charles Woods. He killed him. He killed him when he ran
that's
over.
One of my favorite plays of all time.
Oh my God, he killed him. And then Green Bay had that fluke play. I forgot who it was to. I don't know if it was Jennings. They had like a 90-yard touchdown pass. It was kind of a blown coverage. And then I remember, I think it was McCorders picked off a pass, and then he fumbled it right back to Green Bay. But even though we were losing like 13-10 or 10-10, whatever it was at halftime, I felt like we were dominating them and we were going to win.
You're not a real fan because going into the Lambeau game, I thought we were going to win, and you thought they were going to lose.
Well, until that morning, I did, yes.
So now you're not a real fan.
I'm not a real fan. I don't know anything about the Giants. I've never watched a Giants game. I don't know what this says. I just picked I was in a dollar bin. I was like, oh, it's $1. I don't know what LT stands for. I know nothing about guys like Sam Huff and Tuffy Lehmans and Frank Gifford. I don't know anything about those guys. I know nothing about the dark times of Craig Morton and Ron Pasarchek. I know nothing about Homer Jones. I know nothing about the history of the Giants, knowing that, Tom Landry and Vince Lombardi were assistant.
I
know nothing about him. I'm not a fan at all.
And if I'm not mistaken, Baddog, I think we've both, because we've talked about it in the past, going into the Vikings NFC Championship game in 2000, didn't think they were going to.
I thought they were losing, yes.
And they ended up winning 41-0.
I told my wife, I said, don't worry, they're not going to beat Minnesota next week. And then Kerry Thompson, as soon as he threw a touchdown, I'm like, we're going to Super Bowl.
We're not fans because we didn't go in blindly.
Not a fan, never watched a game. I don't know anything about football.
WJ says the year 2008 Hurts still chance to go back. Oh, the year 2008 still Hurts chance to go back to back. Yeah, what I would say about that, WJ, if we never won that second Super Bowl, it would be so much worse. And it's still a huge what if, because like we've talked about in the past, there were so many other players that could have potentially become Hall of Famers off of that. Obviously, you wanted as many Super Bowls as you can as a fan, but the fact we were able to win another Super Bowl 2 or 3 years after that, it at least lessened the blow a little bit. But yeah, I mean, listen, that's the biggest what if in Giants history is that. What if Plax didn't own a gun or didn't wear sweatpants to a strip club with a gun in his pocket? Where would that season have gone? So yeah, of course, man, it stings.
Yep.
Let's see. And Simon says, we are Giants fans, not Dallas Cowboys fans thinking Super Bowl. I don't even think, how could Cowboys fans be thinking Super Bowl at this point?
Because that's what Cowboy fans do.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if they get back on track, but right now they're just thinking about trying to get to 500. Jid, man, thank you so much for the $2 donation. And Juicy Juice says, if you had to put $1,000 down on that Super Bowl of your own money, he probably would defer.
I'll be honest, I would defer at $1,000. I wouldn't have done that.
Of course, it was 11-1 chance they were going to win.
I wasn't doing that, but no, I think he was talking about the other guy. But I wouldn't. I would have done that for $1,000. No.
He wouldn't have bet. Yeah, at the end of the day, that's all I'm talking about. I wasn't confident enough to do something like that because
$100, yes.
Yeah, I was not confident enough to do $100, but I was happy as shit. I ended up drinking till 4 a.m. with my friends at the bar and went to the and celebrated the next 2 days after that, but didn't expect it.
Right.
Brady says late to the show, but thumbs up are all free. Show support. I appreciate that. Thank you,
Brady.
JT Carroll says Brian Burns 3 sacks tomorrow, no doubt.
I would love that.
I have doubts, but I hope you're right. I hope he gets 9 sacks. And Fabian says, guess we got to be like Mark Holmes, 17-0 every year. Yeah.
Or Philly fans. Same thing.
You know what's funny is Met fans are the complete opposite, because I'm a Met fan. I know this. I'm more positive than a lot of Met fans, but Met fans think they're going to lose every single big game. So I guess Met fans are not fans because they right. It's such silly logic. John
says, exactly. Man,
John says, my guys, Giants stink, but beat the Cowboys and run at the overrated wannabe LT where Allen jersey. Giants will win. Chris, Mets, Phillies, playoffs. Let's go. But we got a ways to go still. We got 5 games left for the Mets. They're a game up, so it's going to be close. Did he just say that? You're saying Parsons is a wannabe LT. Okay.
Right.
I can respect that.
I'm not wearing the Allen jersey, John. It's not happening. I've always appreciated the gesture. It's my favorite Eagle. I ain't wearing that damn. I wore it once. I wore it when I imitated Philly 500. I wore it that, but I'm not putting that thing on. It's not happening. I didn't do anything with it. It hangs in the closet right down here. It stays there. It stays in the hanger, but it'll never drape over my masculine physique. It will not happen.
Brady says, and we're going to wrap this up in a couple minutes. Appreciate all you guys for being here. Thank you, guys. Brady says, my question to you and Bad Dog, we win tomorrow. Is Jones safe? What's the context, Brady? Is Jones... I think even based off of the last 2 weeks, Jones is safe at least for another 4 or 5 weeks. If that's what your question is, even if he doesn't play well tomorrow, he's seeing at least another 5 or 6 weeks. I think that question is now put to bed, at least for, like I said, 5 or 6 weeks of whether or not Drew Lock's going to replace him. He's played well the last 2 weeks. If that's what your question is, yeah, I think he's safe now, at least for the immediate future. If your question is he safe for the foreseeable future, for 2025, absolutely not. He's got a long way to go, regardless of what happens tomorrow. He's got to make the playoffs. That's what we said earlier in the stream. If he does, yeah, he will probably be safe, if that's what your question is.
Yeah, I don't. If we win tomorrow, he's going to be fine as long as he's healthy.
Yeah, for this year. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yes, for this season. They're not gonna bench him in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, depending on how the season goes, I can't say he's gonna be safe here, depending on tomorrow. But he'll have a more extended leash.
Matthew says, thoughts on Singletary thus far. How do you see the offense evolving with Neighbors starting to break out? Praying to see more Hyatt in the future. I think you're going to see more Hyatt in the near future. I still think Slayton's going to be involved, but I think you will see more Hyatt as the year progresses. As far as the first part of your question, thoughts on Singletary thus far. The only knock I have on Singletary is ball security.
Right.
He's had 2 fumbles, but he's a good pass catcher. He's been incredible in terms of breaking tackles. I think he had the most broken tackles in the NFL his first week. And he's that big run he had at the end of the game this past week was really good. He's got really quick short area quickness. He's got I don't even know how to describe it, but he's got a quick burst where he's able to jet in and out of holes very quickly. Yeah, I'm a fan of Singletary. He's played well outside of the fumbling issues. And then how do you see the offense evolving with Neighbors starting to break out? Yeah, I think it's going to be more of an offense that Giants fans have been clamoring for the last 5 or 6 years, because now you have a legitimate wide receiver 1. That changes everything. Now, all of a sudden, Wan'Dale is a really good wide receiver in the role that he's going to be asked to be in. He doesn't have to carry the load. Darius Slayton doesn't have to carry the load. It opens up the entire offense. So, yeah, I think you're going to see an offense that throws the ball more than they've done in the past. But there's still, like we said, going into the year, and I actually meant to look at that. I'm curious to see where we rank in terms of run frequency, but I still think we're going to be an offense that is balanced, but has much big play capabilities than we've had since Odell Beckham's been here, just for the fact that Neighbors is on the field and the fact that Dable's calling the plays. I think he sets these guys up to be put in big spots to create plays after the catch. I mean, you think back to last week, Bad Dog, how many of those yards, I'd love to know, how many of those yards were yak yards? We must have 5 or 6 successful screens. Yeah, Wan'Dale had a couple of plays where he, broke yardage after the catch, and a lot of that has to do with Dable with the play calling. So, yeah, I think this is going to be a decent offense this year, provided this offensive line continues to look the way they've played thus far.
I definitely think Singletary's been good outside of the fumbling issues. Again, he's averaging 4.7 yards carry. He has 2 touchdowns, should have 3. But I mean, he runs hard. He finishes his runs. He definitely fights for every yard. You love that. That's the type of guy that wears down a defense, no question. He hits the hole very hard. He's been very effective. He's been he's been a good running back for us. And as far as the offense goes, yeah, I would like to see more Jalen Hyatt, but I understand what Brian Dable's doing. I think Brian Dable's play calling, like I said, in that first half against Cleveland, I had to commend him. Like, I was on Dable the first couple of weeks, but that first half in Cleveland, I was like, man, he's found, like, he's really in rhythm. He's moving guys around. He's 5 wide. He's 2 tights. He's running the football. He's moving guys around. He's 2 wide receivers. He's 3 wide receivers. He's bringing the running backs out wide. He's throwing the ball deep. He's throwing it underneath. They were doing a lot of different things. They were not predictable. Mm-hmm. And I think that really means a lot, because the Giants can become very predictable. We've seen it. We know it, right? So he kept Cleveland's defense guessing. That's pretty good defense over there. That first half, the Giants were almost perfect offensively. So, and again, the great response, because listen, man, we fumble the opening kickoff. Next play's a touchdown, 7-0. It could have been up. Here we go again. I thought it was over. I'm like, what the hell? Yeah. And then they responded, and
that was a really good response by the
It was very good. And hey, like I said, hopefully Dable found something. Hopefully his quarterback is getting confidence. And when you have a guy like Neighbors, it certainly can raise your confidence. I think the offense can get better. I definitely think there's room to improve, and hopefully they do. If the offense can become average and the defense is average, there's no reason to think that we can't get 8 or 9 wins. Yeah. But this starts with Dallas. This was the tough part of our script. We won the first game. Cleveland was a tough team. Yeah. We have Dallas, then we have Seattle, then we have Cincinnati is 0-3.
Very beatable right now.
They stink, but they look way more beatable than I thought they did.
And I think the Steelers, even though they're 3-0, it's not a game where I feel like we can't win. Like
they're not going to dominate us.
I think it's a game we'll have a chance.
Yeah. And then, of course, we play Washington again, and then we play Carolina.
Yeah.
And we get Washington at home this time, and they never play well at MetLife Stadium. So this Dallas game's huge. Yeah. There's no other way to put it. So
yeah. Joseph says, Baddog, that was great. Rattling off all those names at random. I go back to Y.A. Tittle, to Schofner, Gifford, Kyle Rote. I like that number 29 is a running back this year. Alex Webster, go G-Men. So I love when we get the old-time Giants fans in here. Yeah. Love it. I obviously don't go back as far as you guys do. I started watching the Giants in the mid-'90s. But, yeah, man, love seeing the knowledge by Joe, man. And obviously,
I missed the guy. I mean, Emlyn Tunnell is one of the greatest to ever do it. Second in interceptions all time with 79. So you don't forget about him. I mean, obviously, a Hall of Famer. The Giants had a bunch of them. I mean, I could go back to like the 80s, obviously, with Leonard Marshall, Pepper Johnson, Harry Carson, Carl Banks, all those guys, Elvis Patterson, Herb Welch, Terry Kennard, Perry Williams, all those guys. I remember Jim Burt. I remember those guys. You go back to Bradley Van Pelt, Joe Danello was our kicker, all that stuff, Sean Landetta, all that stuff. I go back. It was great. We had guys like Stacy Robinson. I remember that. I love the history of the New York Giants. And there's been dark history in the 70s. My dad grew up with that. And me growing up, I grew up at a good time, and now I'm kind of going through the crap.
You're going through our version of the 70s.
I'm going through that tunnel my dad went through and come out on the other end. Hopefully there's another 4 Super Bowls at the end of that tunnel, right? That'd be nice.
Yeah. And Brady says, I still don't see Jones in the future in 2025, brothers. I mean, I wouldn't lean that way right now, but I'm also not going to completely rule it out. It's something that I'll evaluate at the end of the year. I'll see how he plays. I'll see where the team's at, where they're picking, what their options are. And I'll give my final opinion then. But for me, before that even becomes a possibility, like we talked about earlier, he's got to make the playoffs. So if he makes the playoffs, I would certainly lean more towards he would be back. But let's see him do that first, and then I'll be able to give you a better answer with that. Fabian says DJ is going to drag his nuts across the Dallas Star.
Hopefully, after he does that, he slaps Dallas right in the head with him.
I sure hope so, man.
I hope so too.
Hopefully, he signs the wall like Eli did.
But there's no, hopefully. Well, we're at home, so he's not going to sign.
Oh yeah, of course. What am I thinking? Yeah, my mistake.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully he does it later in the year when we play.
Right, that'd be great.
Yeah. And Brady says, "Love what you both do, brothers. Let's get this win. Let's go, man. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's get this win." But with that, we went a little bit over time. We appreciate all you guys at a banging chat tonight. You guys are always our co-hosts, so we love you guys. You guys stir up the conversation. We like to go back and forth with you guys. And yeah, looking forward to tomorrow night, man. We're gonna be live on Bad Dogs for what is the biggest game of the season. And next week, if we win, the week after will be the biggest game of the season.
Right.
Take it one week at a time. But huge game tomorrow night. Prime time, Giants, Cowboys. Doesn't get much better than that. I mean, come on. So looking forward to it, man. Hopefully the Giants can find a way to get a win. We get to 2-2, and we have a lot more excitement this year, man. It's either going to go quickly from the same old Giants again vibes, or to this is 2022 all over again vibes if the Giants are able to win tomorrow.
Right.
So a big game tomorrow for the New York Giants, an even bigger game probably for the Dallas Cowboys when you factor in their expectations preseason. Monster game. You don't get much bigger with this early in the season, week 4. So looking forward to calling the game with you guys tomorrow and going over to Bad Dogs and check us out.
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun. I hope we have a lot of fun. I don't want one of these 40-0 games. I don't want one of those. If we don't win, at least make it competitive, at least make it fun. I think they will. I really do. I think this is going to be a very competitive game. I talked myself into the Giants winning this football game. It would be awesome if we could beat Dallas. It would be a great way to move forward, and we'd have a long time to get healthy, fly to Seattle, and try to do damage there. This is a huge game for the Giants. It really is the compass of our season, which direction this team is going to go. Let's get a win. Let's freaking win.
We talked about going into the year how the previous 2 years, the first game dictated the season. It set the tone for the entire season. And I had bad vibes that the first game this year was going to do that. I don't think the tone of the season has been set yet. I think tomorrow night is where the tone is set. Yeah. I think if the Giants come out and they beat the Dallas Cowboys, we're going to be a competitive team this year, and we're going to compete for the playoffs. If we lose, things could spiral out of control. It's a big game tomorrow. I think it's a tone setter for the rest of the year. So can't wait to call it with you guys. Just going to catch up on the rest of these. Brady says, dude, Jacket's not. I'm sleeping with the Jacket tonight.
Don't worry. I got the drink right here. I got it right here.
It ain't coming off.
We got. I might have to do a double if we beat Dallas. we got, like I said, there's about 8 more wins in there. So
I hope there's more than 8, man. Let's get greedy.
Well, I'm saying that to the bottom. I'm saying I think it's about 8 wins. It's about 8 glasses. So if we empty this, we're going to playoffs. If we empty this, we're going to the playoffs.
Let's go. And Joe says the Crunch Bunch, Van Pelt, Carson. Yeah, I mean, that's all time right there.
That's what I'm talking about.
All time right there, man. That's the bread and butter of the New York Giants.
Yeah.
But guys, we're gonna close it out, man. Love you guys, and we'll see you tomorrow. Right? Be good, guys. And Davey says, get an AC in that jacket. I'm gonna need it.
You need it.
I'm gonna need multiple cups of water tomorrow because I'm sweating tonight.
There you go.
But guys, have a great rest of your night. Bad though. Close it out.
All right, guys. Be good. We'll see you tomorrow, 7:30, my channel. Let's kick their ass. Enjoy the rest of your night. See ya. We gone. Peace.
Get some sleep, guys.